Hello, friends. Welcome to the Sleep Aliens. Did you know that nearly 80% of those who watch my videos aren't subscribed? If you enjoy the content, I'd truly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. Also, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. By the way, where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. Well, this is exactly what I went through with my girlfriend Isabella on Highway 83, approximately 40 miles north of the Texas-Mexico border. February 14th, 2019, Valentine's Day. Ironically, this is a night I will never forget, because since then, I have feared darkness. I am Miles Cardenas. I used to be a deputy sheriff in Maverick County for 6 years before I left. Isabella Trujillo was my patrol officer. I think she's the best deputy I have ever worked with. Bright, perceptive, didn't suffer fools gladly. We'd been partnered up for a good 2.5 years when this occurred. Now, before I go into this, you have to understand a thing or two about Highway 83, I need to tell you. This is not a busy highway with gas stations popping up every 10 miles. Here, you have nothing but scrub, mesquite, cactus, and red earth that goes on forever in every direction you can see. At night, you see 1 or 2 cars per hour. Maybe. Nothing else is shining but your headlights and whatever light happens to be coming from the stars above you. We were on our regular patrol route that night. Nothing unusual. Cold for South Texas, maybe 50 degrees, but clear. No clouds, just this massive black sky with more stars than you've ever seen in your life if you live in a city. Out there, the Milky Way looks like someone spilled milk across velvet. Isabella was driving. I was riding shotgun, half watching the road, half doing paperwork on my laptop. We'd just cleared a routine traffic stop about 20 minutes earlier, some trucker with a busted taillight. Everything was normal. Then the wind stopped. I know that sounds weird, but you have to understand. There's always wind out there. Always. It comes off the desert and it never fully stops. Not even in the dead of night. You get used to it. That constant, low whistle around the car. The way it pushes tumbleweeds across the road. How it makes the mesquite branches scratch against each other. But at 11:47 p.m., it just stopped. Complete silence. I looked up from my laptop. Isabella had slowed the cruiser down to maybe 30 miles per hour. Her hands were tight on the wheel. "You feel that?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Wind died." That's not what I mean. I knew what she meant, though. It wasn't just the wind. The air felt wrong. Heavy. Like right before a thunderstorm, except there wasn't a cloud in the sky. My ears started ringing a little, that high-pitched tone you get when everything's too quiet. Even the engine sounded muffled. Normally, our Crown Vic had this deep rumble you could feel in your chest, but now it sounded distant, like we were hearing it through a pillow. "Should we call it in?" I asked. Isabella didn't answer right away. She was staring at the road ahead, both hands locked on the wheel. I followed her gaze. That's when I saw it. About half a mile ahead, maybe a little less, there was a light hovering above the highway, not moving, just sitting there in the air like someone had hung a lantern from an invisible hook. It was amber-colored, not yellow, not orange. Amber. Like honey with a light behind it. And it wasn't blinking or pulsing, it was just there, steady, silent. "Miles," Isabella said quietly. "Tell me you see that." "I see it." "What is it?" "I don't know." She started slowing down more, 20 miles per hour, 15. The light wasn't getting any closer even though we were moving toward it. Or maybe it was moving away from us at the same speed. I couldn't tell. My heart was hammering now. I reached for the radio to call it in. But when I pressed the transmit button, nothing happened. Not even static. Just dead air. "Radio's out," I said. "Mine too." Isabella had been trying hers at the same time. "What about your cell?" I pulled out my phone. No signal. Not even one bar. Just a blank screen where the carrier name should be. Nothing. Isabella brought the car to a full stop. We were maybe a quarter mile from the light now, close enough to see that it was circular. Or maybe spherical. Hard to tell. It had no visible source, no beam shooting down from it, no beam shooting up to it. It was just there, hanging about 50 feet above the road. The silence was unbearable now. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. I could hear Isabella breathing. I could hear the fabric of my uniform shift when I moved. But outside, nothing. No wind, no crickets, no distant trucks. Nothing. "We should back up," I said. "Yeah," Isabella agreed. But neither of us moved. Have you ever been so scared that your body just locks up? Not fight or flight, just freeze. That's what was happening. We sat there in the cruiser, engine idling so quietly it was almost inaudible, staring at this impossible amber light floating above Highway 83. Then it started moving toward us. Slow at first. So slow you might think you were imagining it. But no, it was definitely getting closer. The light grew bigger in the windshield. Still no sound, still no wind. Just this silent, glowing thing drifting toward us like a jellyfish in deep water. "Reverse," I said. "Reverse now." Isabella shoved the car into reverse and hit the gas. The Crown Vic lurched backward, tires squealing on the asphalt. But the sound was still muffled, like we were inside a bubble. The light kept coming. We were going maybe 40 in reverse, which is dangerous as hell on a straight highway, let alone at night. But that light was still gaining on us. Not fast, just steady, relentless. "Faster!" I yelled. "I'm floored." The speedometer said 50 miles per hour in reverse, but the light was still getting closer. Then I noticed something else. The stars were disappearing. Not like clouds rolling in. They were just vanishing. Like someone was erasing them with an invisible hand, working from the horizon toward the center of the sky. First, the ones near the light, then the ones farther out. One by one, the stars winked out until there was only blackness above us. "Isabella, I see it!" The light was maybe 50 yards away now, close enough that I could make out details. It wasn't solid. It was translucent, like smoked glass, with something dark moving inside it. Shapes, 3 or 4 of them. Too far to make out clearly, but definitely moving. Then everything went white. Not bright white, soft white. Like being inside a cloud. I couldn't see Isabella, couldn't see the dashboard, couldn't see my own hands in front of my face. Just white. And then I heard the voice. Except it wasn't a voice, not really. It was inside my head. Not words. More like feelings that my brain automatically translated into words. And what it said was stop. So I did. We both did. The car stopped moving even though Isabella's foot was still on the gas. We just stopped. Dead still in the middle of Highway 83. The white faded slowly, like someone turning down a dimmer switch. And when my vision cleared, the amber light was gone. The stars were back. The wind was blowing again. Our engine sounded normal. Everything was exactly as it had been before, except it wasn't, because something fundamental had changed. I could feel it in my bones. What the hell just happened? Isabella's voice was shaking. I didn't answer. I was staring at the dashboard clock. It said 3:22 a.m. "Isabella?" I said slowly. "What time is it?" She looked at her watch, then at the dashboard, then at her watch again. "That's not right," she whispered. "What does your watch say?" 11:53. I checked my phone. 11:53 p.m. The car clock said 3:22 a.m. We'd lost 3.5 hours. No, that's not right either. We hadn't lost them. They'd been taken. "We need to go," Isabella said. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking in the rearview mirror, and her face had gone pale. I turned around to look through the back window. The amber light was back, but this time it wasn't alone. There were 3 of them now, hovering in a perfect triangle formation about half a mile behind us, and they were getting closer. Isabella didn't wait. She floored it. The Crown Vic shot forward so fast my head snapped back against the headrest. We hit 90 in maybe 10 seconds. The speedometer kept climbing. 95, 100, 105. But when I looked back, the lights were still the same distance behind us. "They're matching our speed!" I shouted over the engine roar. "I know!" Then, as suddenly as they'd appeared, the lights shot straight up into the sky and vanished. Just gone, like they'd never been there. We drove in silence for another 20 minutes until we hit the county line. Only then did Isabella slow down to something resembling a legal speed. Neither of us spoke. What was there to say? When we got back to the station at 4:15 a.m., according to every clock except our cruisers, we sat in the parking lot for 10 minutes trying to figure out what to tell our sergeant. In the end, we told him the truth, every word of it. The stopped wind, the amber light, the missing time, all of it. He listened without interrupting. When we finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "You're the 7th unit to report something like this on Highway 83 in the last 2 months. That was 4 years ago. I quit the department 6 months later. So did Isabella. We don't talk anymore. Not because we're mad at each other, but because every time we do, we end up right back in that cruiser, staring at that light. I've tried to tell myself it was swamp gas, or ball lightning, or some kind of military test. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And I know those 3.5 hours went somewhere. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear that voice in my head. Stop. And the worst part? I think whatever it was, it's still out there on Highway 83. Waiting, watching. Taking time from people and giving nothing back but questions. If you ever find yourself driving through South Texas late at night and the wind suddenly stops, turn around. Turn around and don't look back. Because once you see that amber light, you'll never stop wondering what happened during the hours you can't remember. What I didn't tell you about that night, what I couldn't tell anyone for a long time, was what I found the next morning. After our sergeant dismissed us, Isabella and I went to the locker room to change out of our uniforms. Neither of us wanted to go home right away. It was pushing 5 a.m. by then, and the sun would be up soon. Something about daylight felt safer. I was pulling my duty belt off when I noticed the smell. Burnt electronics. Like when a circuit board fries or a phone battery overheats. Sharp and acrid. I checked my gear thinking maybe my radio had shorted out, but everything looked normal. "You smell that?" I asked Isabella. She was sitting on the bench, still in full uniform, staring at her hands. She didn't answer right away. When she finally looked up at me, her eyes were red. "Miles," she said quietly, "look at your hands." I did. There were marks on them, on the backs of both hands right in the center. Small circles, maybe the size of a dime, with the skin slightly darker than the surrounding area. Not burned, not bruised, just marked, like someone had pressed something cold against them. What the hell? I turned my hands over, checking the palms. Nothing there, just the marks on top. Isabella held up her own hands. Same marks, same placement, perfectly circular. We stared at each other. Did something touch us?" she asked. I didn't remember being touched. I didn't remember anything except the white light, and then suddenly we were back on the highway with 3 hours gone. But here were these marks, physical proof that something had happened. "We need to see a doctor," I said. "And tell them what? That we got marked by UFOs? We tell them we don't know what happened. We were on patrol, felt sick, blacked out. They can run tests." Isabella shook her head. "No doctors. You know what'll happen? Medical leave, psych evaluation. They'll say we had some kind of shared delusion or carbon monoxide poisoning. They'll ground us." She was right, but that didn't make the marks any less real. I grabbed my phone to take pictures, but when I opened the camera app, the screen went black. Not dead, black, like something was blocking it. I tried several times. Same result. Isabella's phone did the same thing. "Okay," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Okay, we document this ourselves. We write down everything we remember, everything we saw, every detail. We compare notes, and we figure out what the hell happened to us." That was the plan. But plans don't account for what happens when your memory starts changing. Over the next few days, things got weird. I'd be sitting at home trying to write down what I remembered, and I'd find gaps. Not the 3-hour gap we already knew about, new gaps. Little holes in my memory from before the light appeared. For example, I couldn't remember what the trucker we'd stopped earlier looked like. I knew we'd stopped someone. I had the citation in my log, but when I tried to picture his face, nothing. Just a blur where a human being should be. Same with the drive to Highway 83. I remembered leaving the station. I remembered Isabella driving. But the actual journey, the conversations we'd had, gone. It was like someone had gone through my memory with a hole punch and removed specific pieces. Isabella was having the same problem. We met at a coffee shop in Eagle Pass 3 days after the incident, both of us looking like we hadn't slept, which we hadn't, and compared what we'd written down. Our accounts matched on the big stuff. The stopped wind, the amber light, the missing time, the marks on our hands. But all the little details? Different. Sometimes completely contradictory. I'd written that the light was hovering about 50 feet above the road. She'd written 100 feet. I remembered the car clock saying 3:22 a.m. She remembered 3:41 a.m. I said the voice in my head had been male. She said female. How is this possible? Isabella pressed her palms against her eyes. We were in the same car. We saw the same thing. I don't know, I said. But I think, whatever happened during those 3 hours, it did something to us. Changed something. The marks on our hands had faded by then. Not gone completely, but light enough that you'd only see them if you were looking. We'd both tried showing them to other people. I showed my girlfriend, Isabella showed her brother, but nobody could see them except us. "It's just a shadow," my girlfriend had said, squinting at my hand, "from the light in here." But we could see them, clear as day. That's when we decided to go back. I know what you're thinking. Why would we go back to Highway 83? Why would we deliberately return to the place where we'd lost 3 hours of our lives? Because we needed to know. Because every night since that Valentine's Day, I'd been waking up at 3:22 a.m. exactly, feeling like something was watching me from the dark corner of my bedroom. Because Isabella told me she'd been having dreams about the white light, and in those dreams there were things inside it. Shapes that looked almost human but weren't. Because those marks on our hands were fading, and some part of us knew that when they disappeared completely, we'd lose our chance to understand what had happened. We didn't tell anyone, didn't file a report, didn't request a patrol assignment for that area. We just went. Off duty in Isabella's personal truck at the exact same time of night, February 21st. exactly 1 week after the incident. The drive down Highway 83 was different in a civilian vehicle. No radio chatter, no laptop between us, no sense of official duty, just two scared people driving into the dark, hoping for answers and terrified we might find them. We passed the spot where we'd first seen the light. Nothing there now, just empty highway and scrubland stretching away in all directions. The wind was blowing normal. The stars were out. Everything looked exactly as it should. Isabella pulled over at the exact location where we'd stopped that night. I'd marked it on GPS before we left, not that I needed to. I could have found this spot blindfolded. It was burned into my memory. We got out of the truck. The cold hit me immediately. It was warmer than the night of the incident, but I felt frozen. Not temperature frozen, fear frozen. Every instinct screamed at me to get back in the truck and leave. "You okay?" Isabella asked. "No," I said honestly. "You?" "No." But we stayed. We stood there on the shoulder of Highway 83 waiting. Nothing happened. 5 minutes, 10, 15. Just wind and darkness and the occasional passing car. Normal, completely normal. I was starting to feel stupid. What had we expected? That the light would just appear on command? That whatever had taken 3 hours of our lives would come back for round 2? Then Isabella grabbed my arm. Miles, the wind. I'd been so focused on watching the sky that I hadn't noticed. But she was right. The wind had stopped. "Get in the truck," I said. We ran. I don't care how that looks. We were trained law enforcement officers and we ran like scared kids. Got in the truck, slammed the doors, and Isabella turned the key. Nothing. "Come on," she whispered, turning it again. "Come on, come on, come on." The engine wouldn't turn over. Wouldn't even click. Dead. I looked at my phone. No signal. Through the windshield, maybe 200 yards ahead, I saw it, the amber light, rising up from the ground this time instead of hovering above it. Getting brighter. Getting bigger. "Isabella, I see it. What do we do?" She looked at me. Even in the darkness of the truck cab, I could see her face clearly. She looked calm. Too calm. "I think," she said slowly, "we were always going to come back here. I think that's why they let us remember. So we'd come back." "They?" She pointed at the light. It was closer now, much closer, and I could see what she meant about shapes moving inside it. Dark forms. 3 of them, maybe 4. Definitely not human. The voice came again, inside my head. "You returned." Not a question. A statement. "What do you want?" I said it out loud, even though I knew the voice wasn't using sound. "To show you." "Show us what?" But I didn't get an answer. Because that's when the white light came again. And this time I didn't lose consciousness. I need you to understand something about what I'm going to tell you next. When people talk about alien abduction, they talk about medical tables and gray beings with big eyes and experiments. They talk about probes and implants and trauma. What happened to us wasn't like that. We stayed conscious this time. The white light didn't erase our awareness. It expanded it. When the light enveloped the truck, everything else disappeared. Not in a violent way. More like the world was a painting, and someone had gently folded the canvas so all you could see was white. The highway, the scrubland, the stars, all of it just went away. But Isabella and I remained. We were still in the truck. I could see her clearly, she could see me, but when I looked through the windshield there was nothing. Just that soft, encompassing white. "Are we dead?" Isabella whispered. "I don't think so." The truck wasn't running, but we could still breathe. We were still here, still us. Then the shapes appeared. They came through the white like swimmers rising from deep water. Slow, deliberate. 3 of them at first, then a 4th. They moved with a strange grace, like they were floating more than walking, and as they got closer I could make out details. They weren't gray. That's the first thing I need to correct. The typical gray alien description everyone knows. Not accurate. At least not for these things. They were darker, charcoal, almost black, but with a faint luminescence underneath the surface, like there was light inside them trying to get out. And they were tall, easily 7 feet, maybe more. Impossibly thin, with limbs that were slightly too long for their bodies. But their faces. God, their faces. They had eyes, but not like ours. No whites, no pupils. Just deep black ovals that reflected the white light around us. And I could see myself in those reflections. I could see Isabella. I could see the truck. But I could also see other things, other places, other times. One of them approached my side of the truck. I wanted to scream, wanted to lock the door, roll up the window, anything. But I couldn't move. Not paralyzed like before. More like I'd forgotten how. Like the concept of movement had been temporarily removed from my understanding. The being reached out with one long, 3-fingered hand. It touched the window. And then I understood. I can't explain how. There were no words. No voice inside my head this time. Just sudden, complete understanding flooding my consciousness like someone had opened a door in my brain I didn't know existed. They weren't aliens. Or maybe they were, but not in the way we think about it. They weren't from another planet. They were from another layer. Another fold of reality that existed in the same space as ours, but different. Perpendicular. Parallel. Neither. Both. And they'd been here forever. Watching. Studying. Trying to understand us the same way we were trying to understand them. The 3 hours we lost? We hadn't lost them. We'd spent them in that place, the white place between layers, trying to communicate. But our brains couldn't hold the information, couldn't process it. So when we came back, it was just gone, translated into missing time and strange marks and fragments of memory. But this time, they wanted us to remember. The being at my window made a gesture. Its hand moved in a complex pattern, fingers tracing shapes in the air that my eyes could follow but my brain couldn't fully process. But I understood the meaning. We need you to understand. Time is running out. Running out for what? I managed to say, my voice sounding distant and strange. The answer came as images, not words. I saw Earth from above, but not our Earth. A different one, a darker one. The oceans were brown, the continents were gray, and there were lights all over it. Millions of lights. But they weren't cities. They were something else. Something moving. Then the image shifted. I saw myself standing on Highway 83, but the highway was cracked and overgrown. The sky was the wrong color, a deep orange that hurt to look at. And there were others like me, humans, but changed. Their skin had that same faint luminescence as the beings. Their eyes were different. "This is what will happen," the voice said. Not threatening, just stating fact. "You will need to choose. Choose what? Whether to remember or forget." Another gesture from the being. This time, the white around us began to shimmer. Reality started bleeding back in at the edges. I could see the stars again, the highway, the dashboard lights of the truck. But before it fully returned, the being touched the window one more time. And I felt it, a pressure inside my head. Not painful, just present. Like something was being placed there, a gift or a curse. I couldn't tell. "You will know when it's time," the voice said. You will feel us calling." Then they were gone. Not fading, just instantly absent. The white light collapsed in on itself and vanished. We were back in the truck on Highway 83. The engine was running. The radio was playing static. My phone showed 4 bars of signal. And according to every clock we had, only 12 minutes had passed since we'd pulled over. Isabella was staring straight ahead, tears streaming down her face. "Did that really happen?" she asked. "I think so. Miles, I saw things. In my head, things they showed me. Me too. There was a city, a huge city made of light, and there were people in it. Human people. But they weren't. They weren't right. They were changed, and there was something coming, something bad. I couldn't see what, but I could feel it." I'd seen the same thing, or something similar. The details were already starting to blur at the edges, like a dream slipping away on waking, but the core of it remained. We drove back to Eagle Pass in silence. Neither of us wanted to discuss what we'd seen. Not yet. Not until we'd had time to process it, to figure out if we were losing our minds or if something impossible had actually happened. When we got to Isabella's apartment, she didn't get out right away. We sat in the parked truck for 10 minutes, engine off, neither of us speaking. Finally, she said, "What do we do now?" "I don't know." "Do we tell anyone? Who would believe us?" She laughed, a broken, desperate sound. "We don't even believe us." But we did. That was the problem. We believed every impossible second of it. The marks on our hands came back that night. Not faded anymore. Dark and clear, like fresh tattoos. And they hurt. Not a lot, but a constant low throb. A reminder. Over the next few weeks, other things started happening. I began seeing patterns everywhere, in traffic lights, in the way rain hit windshields, in the arrangement of stars. Mathematical patterns, geometric shapes, sequences that meant something, but I couldn't quite grasp what. Isabella reported similar experiences. She'd be grocery shopping and suddenly see connections between products on shelves. Spatial relationships that normal people wouldn't notice. Or she'd look at someone and know, just know, what they were thinking. Not their exact thoughts, but their emotional state, their intentions, their fears. We were changing. The marks on our hands were fading again, but this time we knew they'd come back. Every 7 days, like clockwork. And each time they appeared, we'd get these flashes. Brief moments where we could see that white space again. The place between layers. And we'd see the beings, still there, still watching, still waiting. This all came to a head 3 months later. May 21st. I was at home, getting ready for my shift, when the marks on my hands suddenly became unbearably hot. Not burning, but intense heat that made me gasp. I looked down at them, and they were glowing. Actually glowing. Faint amber light emanating from the circular marks. My phone rang. "Isabella, are you seeing this?" she demanded. "The light? It's happening. They're calling us. I can feel it, Miles. They want us to come back." "When?" "Tonight, the same time. They showed me." "Did they show you too?" They had. While the marks glowed, I'd gotten a flash. Clear as day. Highway 83, midnight. Both of us needed to be there. "This is crazy," I said. "I know. We could just not go." Silence on the other end. Then, "Could we? Really?" She was right. We couldn't not go. Whatever they'd put in our heads during that second encounter, that pressure, that presence, it was compelling us. Not in an evil mind control way, more like we'd been given an invitation to something important, and declining wasn't actually an option. "Okay," I said. "Midnight. I'll meet you there. Miles? I'm scared. Me too. But we're going anyway. Yeah, we're going anyway. That night felt different. The air was charged with electricity. Storm clouds had rolled in during the day, unusual for May, and distant lightning lit up the horizon. But no rain, just those clouds, hovering like they were waiting for something. I met Isabella at the same spot on Highway 83. We arrived at 11:45 p.m., 15 minutes early. She got out of her truck, I got out of mine. We stood between the vehicles watching the sky. The marks on our hands were still glowing, brighter now. What do you think is going to happen? Isabella asked. I think they're going to show us what comes next. That city made of light? Maybe. The changed humans? Probably. She was quiet for a moment, then, Miles, what if we don't come back this time? What if this is it? What if they take us somewhere we can't return from? I'd thought about that. Of course I had. But I'd also thought about the alternative. Spending the rest of my life wondering. Waking up at 3:22 a.m. every night. Seeing patterns in everything. Feeling those marks pulse on my hands. Always knowing that something huge and impossible had touched my life, but never understanding why. If we don't come back, I said, at least we went looking for answers. She nodded. Yeah, at least there's that. At 11:58 p.m. the wind stopped. At 11:59 p.m. the amber light appeared. Not in the sky this time, right in front of us, rising up from the road surface like smoke, coalescing into that familiar translucent sphere. And at midnight exactly, the beings stepped through. There were 5 of them now. The 3 we'd seen before, plus 2 others, taller, more luminescent. They moved with purpose, approaching us directly, no hesitation. The tallest one stopped in front of me. Its dark eyes reflected my face, but also something else, something deeper, like I was seeing myself from the outside and the inside simultaneously. It raised its hand, 3 long fingers extended. And I understood. This was the choice. The one they'd told us about. Behind the beings, the white light was opening up, not expanding, opening, like a door being pulled back to reveal what was on the other side. And I could see it now. That place between layers, the white space where normal rules didn't apply. And beyond it, the city of light. Real, actual, massive. The being's hand remained extended. Choose, came the voice. Remember or forget. What happens if we forget? Isabella asked aloud. The being turned to her. A second door appeared in the white light. This one showed Highway 83, normal, empty. Showed us getting in our trucks, driving away, living normal lives. The marks fading permanently. The memories dissolving like dreams on waking. And if we remember? The first door widened, the city became clearer. And I saw them, the changed humans, walking through streets of light. Not imprisoned, not suffering, just different. Evolved, part of something larger than themselves, part of something larger than us. We'll become like them, I said. It wasn't a question. The being nodded, one slow, deliberate movement. And we can't go back? Another nod. Isabella looked at me. I looked at her. What do you want to do? I asked. She was crying, but she was also smiling. I want to understand, she said. God help me. I want to know what this all means. Me too. We looked at the beings, at the door in the white light, at the city beyond it. And together we stepped forward. That was 4 years ago. You're probably wondering how I'm telling you this story if we walked through that door. How I'm here, now, writing this down. The truth is, I'm not sure I am here. Not in the way you think. After we stepped through, everything changed. Not all at once. Gradually. Like learning a new language or adjusting to life in a new country. The city of light was real. The changed humans were real. And they welcomed us. They taught us things. About time. How it's not linear, how it folds back on itself. About space. How distance is an illusion when you understand the layers. About humanity. What we are, what we've been, what we're becoming. And about them. The beings. They're not aliens, they're us. From so far in the future that they've transcended physical form. They've learned to exist in the spaces between moments, watching their own past, trying to guide it without breaking it. We're them. Eventually, if we survive long enough. If we make the right choices, that's why they took us. Why they take anyone. To plant seeds. To show a few people what's possible. To let us come back and tell others, even though no one will believe us. Because belief doesn't matter. The seed is planted anyway. I returned to Eagle Pass 3 days after I stepped through that door. Isabella came back too. We remembered everything. Remembered the city, the teachings, the truth. But we also remembered the choice we'd made. We'd chosen to come back. To live normal lives, or as normal as possible, until it's time to return. Because there's work to do here. People to prepare. Changes to help guide. The marks on my hands are permanent now. They never fade. Most people can't see them, but others can. The ones like us. The ones who've been taken. We find each other sometimes. Exchange glances in grocery stores or coffee shops. A silent acknowledgement of shared knowledge. And we wait, because they told us, those future versions of ourselves, that the change is coming. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon, in our lifetime. Humanity is going to have to choose. Remember or forget. Evolve or remain. And when that time comes, those of us who've seen the city will need to help guide people toward the light. I still work in law enforcement. Different county now, different job. Isabella moved to Austin, started a family. We don't talk often, don't need to. But every Valentine's Day at midnight, I drive out to Highway 83. Park in that same spot. And wait. Sometimes the amber light appears. Sometimes it doesn't. But the wind always stops, and I always remember. If you find yourself on Highway 83 late at night, and the wind suddenly dies and you see that amber light hovering above the road, don't run, don't hide. Just ask yourself, do I want to remember or forget? And then, whatever you choose, live with it. Because once you've seen what's waiting in the white space between moments, you can never fully unsee it. Even if you think you've forgotten, some part of you always knows. We're all going there eventually. Some of us just get a preview. Have you ever looked at something and known, really known, that what you're seeing shouldn't be possible? Not in a supernatural way. In a cold, hard, technological way. Like watching a video file corrupt itself in real time, except you're stone sober and 3 other people saw the same thing. That's what happened to me, to us. My name is Reese Allerton. I'm a Border Patrol agent, or I was. 11 years on the job before I turned in my badge last October. I worked out of the Uvalde station, which covers a massive stretch of territory along the Texas-Mexico border. We're talking hundreds of square miles of nothing but scrubland, ranch country, and long empty highways where you might not see another vehicle for an hour. My partner was Carter Levesque, best agent I ever worked with, 15 years on the force, half of them with me. We knew each other's rhythms, could communicate with just a look, the kind of partnership you don't find twice in a career. This story starts with something small, so small that I almost didn't notice it. We were doing a routine patrol on Highway 83. Yeah, that Highway 83, the one everyone whispers about. On September 3rd, 2019. Hot night. Probably still 85 degrees at 10 p.m., which is normal for South Texas in early September. No moon, just stars and the beam of our headlights cutting through the darkness. Carter was driving. I was on laptop duty, checking license plates through the system, monitoring radio traffic, the usual. Our dash cam was running like always. We recorded every shift. Department policy. The camera sat mounted on the windshield, wide-angle lens capturing everything the headlights touched. We'd been on patrol for maybe 2 hours when I noticed something weird on the laptop screen. See? Our system shows a little preview window of the dashcam feed in the corner. Most guys ignore it, but I like to check it periodically. Make sure the camera was still recording, still pointed right. You'd be surprised how often they get bumped or lose power. I was glancing at the preview when the screen went black for a second. Not frozen, black. Pure black. Then it came back to normal, showing the highway ahead. "Did you see that?" I asked Carter. "See what?" "The dash cam. It just cut out for a second." Carter glanced at the camera. "Looks fine now." It did look fine. I pulled up the recording interface to check. The file was still recording. No errors showing. But I noticed something odd. The timestamp had jumped. When I'd last looked at it, maybe 30 seconds ago, it had been at 22:14:37. Now it showed 22:14:46. 9 seconds had passed, but I'd only looked away for maybe 2 seconds. I'd been watching the preview the whole time. "Carter, what time is it?" He checked the dash clock. 10:14 p.m. Why? I looked at my watch. Same time, but the camera's timestamp was still moving forward normally from 22:14:46, like those 9 seconds had just vanished from the recording. "Something's wrong with the dash cam," I said. "Time skipped ahead. Maybe it's syncing with GPS or something." Maybe. But it bothered me. These cameras didn't auto-sync. The timestamp was set manually when we started our shift, and it ran continuously from there. There was no reason for it to skip forward. I made a note to check the footage when we got back to the station. Then I forgot about it. Until it happened again. 2 nights later, same patrol route, same time of night. Carter was driving again. I was doing paperwork on the laptop when I saw the preview window go black. I looked up instantly, stared at the little preview screen. Black for 1 second. 2, 3, then it came back. I immediately checked the timestamp. It had jumped again, this time by 11 seconds. "Carter." "I know. I saw it." "You saw the screen go black?" "Yeah, and I felt something weird." "Weird how?" He was quiet for a moment, hands tight on the wheel. "You know how when you're about to sneeze, and there's that second right before where everything just stops? Like that." I knew exactly what he meant. I'd felt it too. A strange pause, like the air had gotten heavier for just a moment. "Did the camera malfunction or did we lose time?" I asked. "What's the difference?" "Big difference. If the camera skipped, that's a tech problem. If we lost time..." I didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. We both knew what that would mean. "Check your phone," Carter said. I did. The time matched the dash clock. Matched my watch. But the dash cam timestamp was 11 seconds ahead of where it should be. "It's just the camera," I said, trying to convince myself. "Has to be?" "Yeah." but neither of us believed it. When we got back to the station at 2 a.m., I immediately pulled the dashcam footage, loaded it onto my workstation, and scrubbed through to 22:14:30. Normal footage. Highway 83, straight and empty. Headlights illuminating the white lines. Dark scrubland on either side. 22:14:35, still normal. 22:14:37, still normal. 22:14:38, black, complete black. Not static, not corruption. Just pure black, like someone had put a lens cap on the camera. I checked the audio. Still running. I could hear the engine, could hear Carter and me talking, could hear the wind outside. But the video, 9 seconds of absolute black. 22:14:47. The image came back. Highway 83, exactly as before. Like nothing had happened. I scrubbed back and forth. The transition was instant. One frame showing the highway, the next frame pure black, then 9 seconds later, back to the highway. No static, no artifacts, no gradual fade. Just an instant cut to black and back. Carter was standing behind me, watching over my shoulder. "That's not a malfunction," he said quietly. "No. That's something covering the lens." "Yeah." But nothing touched the camera. "No." We stared at the screen. "What about the second time?" Carter asked. "Did you pull that footage yet?" I hadn't. I queued it up. September 5th, 22:11:14. Same thing. Normal footage, then instant black for 11 seconds, then back to normal. "Same stretch of highway both times?" Carter asked. I checked the GPS log. The camera system recorded location data along with the video. I pulled up both incidents and compared them. "Within half a mile of each other," I said. "Both times we were between mile marker 47 and 48. That's the empty stretch. No ranches, no structures. Nothing but scrubland for about 5 miles in either direction." I knew the area. Everyone who worked the border knew it. Highway 83 between mile markers 45 and 50 was the loneliest stretch of road in the sector. No lights, no traffic, just darkness and isolation. "We need to report this," I said. "Report what? That our camera went black for a few seconds? That something's happening on that stretch of highway. Something that's interfering with our equipment." Carter shook his head. "Reese, you know what they'll say. Dust on the lens. Electrical short. User error. They'll have us running diagnostics for a week and then tell us it was nothing." He was right. I'd seen it happen before. Agents reported weird equipment malfunctions, filed the paperwork, and nothing ever came of it. The brass didn't want to hear about mysteries. They wanted clear-cut explanations and closed cases. "So what do we do?" I asked. "We go back. Tomorrow night. Same time, same stretch, and we figure out what's causing this. And if it happens again, then we'll know it's not random." The next night, we requested the same patrol route. Our supervisor didn't question it. Highway 83 always needed coverage, and most agents avoided it because it was boring. Long stretches of nothing, low chance of any action. We headed out at 9 p.m. Carter drove. I had the laptop open, watching both the preview window and the GPS. We'd agreed to document everything. Timestamps, GPS coordinates, any environmental changes. If something was going to happen, we'd be ready. The drive to mile marker 47 took about 40 minutes. The whole way there, I kept glancing at the camera preview. Normal, highway, darkness, nothing unusual. At 10:08 p.m., we crossed mile marker 47. "Here we go," Carter said. I stared at the preview window. Cameras fine so far. We drove slowly, maybe 40 miles per hour. Both of us were tense, waiting. Mile marker 47.5. Nothing. Mile marker 47.7. Nothing. Maybe it won't happen tonight, I said. Maybe. Mile marker 47.9. The preview went black. There. I pointed at the screen. Carter was already slowing down. I felt it again, that pause. Did you feel it? I had. Just for a split second, everything had felt wrong, like reality had stuttered. I kept my eyes on the laptop. The preview stayed black. I started counting. 1, 2, 3. Pull the camera file, Carter said. Check if it's still recording. I switched to the file manager. The dashcam was still creating a video file. The file size was still increasing, so it was recording something. 7, 8, 9. The preview came back. Highway 83 ahead of us, illuminated by our headlights. 9 seconds, I said. Same as the first time. Carter had stopped the vehicle. We were sitting in the middle of Highway 83, engine idling. He put the car in park and turned to look at me. Okay, he said. So, it's not random. It happens in this specific location. Same duration. That means something is causing it. Something that only affects the camera, I added. Because we stayed conscious. We didn't lose 9 seconds. The camera did. Unless we did lose 9 seconds and don't remember it. That thought chilled me. What if we had been driving for 9 seconds with no awareness? What if we'd covered a quarter mile of highway in a fugue state, and the only evidence was the camera going black? Check the GPS log, Carter said. See if our position changed. I pulled it up. According to the GPS, we'd traveled continuously from mile marker 47 to our current position at 47.9. No jumps. No gaps. GPS shows continuous movement, I said. We didn't teleport or anything. So we were conscious and driving, but the camera went black anyway. Right. Which means something covered the lens, or something blocked the light from reaching the lens. But nothing touched the windshield, I said. I was watching. Nothing came near the camera. Carter drummed his fingers on the steering wheel. What if it wasn't something physical? What if it was, I don't know, some kind of electromagnetic pulse? Could that black out a camera sensor? Maybe. But wouldn't it kill the whole system? We'd lose audio too, and power to the laptop. True. We sat there in silence for a minute, trying to puzzle it out. The highway stretched ahead of us, empty and dark. In the rearview mirror, I could see nothing but our taillights reflecting red off the asphalt. We should drive back through, I finally said. See if it happens again heading the other direction. Carter nodded. Yeah, good idea. He turned the vehicle around. We drove back slowly, crossing mile marker 48, then 47.9, then 47.5. At 47.2, the camera went black again. This time I was ready. I immediately looked at Carter. His eyes were on the road, hands on the wheel. He looked normal, alert, not in a trance. Talk to me, I said. Tell me what you're feeling. I feel fine, normal, driving. Can you see the road? Yeah, headlights are working. I can see everything. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The preview came back. 9 seconds again, I said. But we were both conscious, both talking, both experiencing time normally. So, it's definitely just the camera. Something is blocking the camera's view for exactly 9 seconds every time we pass through this area. But only the video feed, Audio still works. Carter pulled over to the shoulder. He put the vehicle in park and turned off the headlights. We sat in complete darkness. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Testing something. Look up." I did. Through the windshield I could see stars, thousands of them, crystal clear in the unpolluted darkness. The Milky Way was visible as a pale band across the sky. "See anything weird?" Carter asked. "No, just stars. Keep watching." We sat there for 5 minutes. Nothing happened. The stars stayed where they were, twinkling normally. No lights in the sky, no aircraft, nothing. "Maybe it only happens when we're moving," I suggested, "or when the headlights are on." Carter turned the headlights back on. The beam shot out across the highway, illuminating maybe 100 yards of road and scrubland. And that's when I noticed it. "Carter, look at the road." "I'm looking." "No, really look at it. Look at how the light hits it." He stared for a moment, then his breath caught. "It's not right," he said. He was absolutely correct. The headlights were on, pointed at the highway, but the road wasn't being illuminated properly. The light was hitting it, sure, but it was like the road was absorbing the light instead of reflecting it. Have you ever shined a flashlight into a hole? How the beam just disappears into the darkness. It was like that. Our headlights were on, we could see the road, but it was darker than it should be. "That's not normal," I said. "No." Carter reached for the high beams, flicked them on. The road got marginally brighter, but not much. It was like trying to light up the ocean floor with a flashlight from the surface. The light was there, but it wasn't doing what it should. "What the hell is this?" Carter's voice was tight. I didn't answer. I was staring at the laptop screen. The preview window was still showing a normal view. The headlights, the road, everything looked fine. But when I looked through the windshield with my own eyes, the road was darker than the camera showed. "Carter," I said slowly, "look at the laptop. Look at what the camera sees." He leaned over, his face went pale. "That's not what I'm seeing through the windshield," he said. "No." The camera was showing a normally lit highway, but our eyes were seeing something else. Something darker. Something wrong. And that's when we both saw them. 3 lights in the sky. Small. Blue. Hovering about 30 degrees above the horizon, directly ahead of us. They weren't moving. Just hanging there. Perfectly still. "Please tell me you see those," Carter whispered. "I see them. What are they?" "I don't know." The lights were maybe the size of stars from our perspective, but much brighter. Pure blue, like LED lights. They formed a perfect horizontal line, evenly spaced. I grabbed the camera from the dash mount and pointed it at the lights through the windshield. Through the viewfinder, I could see them clearly. I started recording on my phone, too. Backup documentation. "How long have they been there?" Carter asked. "I don't know. We just noticed them." "Should we call it in?" "And say what? We see lights in the sky?" "It's something. It's documentation." I reached for the radio, keyed the mic. "Dispatch, this is Unit 23. We have a visual on unidentified lights in the sky. Location Highway 83, mile marker 47. Requesting..." The radio died. Not static, not interference. Just dead silence. I tried again. "Dispatch, Unit 23, do you copy?" Nothing. Carter tried his radio. Same result. Both our radios had gone completely silent. "Check your phone," he said. I looked. No signal. 0 bars. Nothing. Mine either. We were cut off, sitting on Highway 83 with no communications, watching 3 blue lights hover in the sky, our dash cam recording black where it should be recording highway, our headlights failing to properly illuminate the road. And the air had gotten cold. I don't mean normal nighttime cold, I mean instant cold. Like someone had opened a freezer door. I could see my breath fogging in front of me. "Are you cold?" I asked Carter. "Freezing." It had been 85 degrees 5 minutes ago. Now it felt like 40. The lights in the sky were still there, still unmoving. And as I watched them, I realized they were slowly getting brighter. "Carter," I said carefully, "I think we should leave." "Yeah." He put the vehicle in drive. The engine died. Carter turned the key. Click. Nothing. The engine wouldn't turn over. "Come on," he muttered, trying again. Click, 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 dead. We were sitting in a dead vehicle with no communications, in freezing cold air that shouldn't exist in September South Texas, watching 3 blue lights get brighter in the sky. And then the lights started to move. Not toward us, toward each other. Slowly, the 3 lights converged. The line became a triangle. Then the triangle became smaller, tighter, until finally the 3 lights merged into one. One bright blue light hovering above Highway 83, and it started to descend. "Get out," I said. "Get out of the vehicle." "What?" "Get out, now." I don't know why I said it, instinct maybe, but every part of me was screaming that we needed to not be in that car. We both jumped out. The cold hit me like a physical force. I could barely breathe. It was so cold. How was this possible? The blue light was lower now, maybe 100 feet above the road. It had grown larger as it descended. It was easily the size of a car now, and it was still coming down. Carter was next to me, both of us standing on the shoulder, staring up. "What do we do?" he asked. "I don't know." The light descended to maybe 50 feet, then it stopped, and it split apart again. 3 lights. But this time they didn't stay in a line. They formed a circle around us. 1 light ahead, 1 to the left, 1 to the right. We were surrounded. "Reese, I don't like this." "Me either." The lights started to pulse, slowly, in perfect unison. Bright, dim, bright, dim, like they were breathing. And with each pulse I felt something. A pressure in my head. Not painful, just present. Like someone was pressing gently on my skull from the inside. "Do you feel that?" I asked. "Yeah." Pulse. Bright, dim, pulse. Bright, dim. The pressure increased slightly, and with it came something else. Images. Not quite memories, more like impressions. Feelings. I can't even describe it. Shapes that weren't shapes. Colors that don't exist. The sensation of falling upward. The sound of silence. "Reese, what's happening?" Carter's voice sounded distant, even though he was right next to me. Pulse. Bright, dim. The pressure was stronger now. My head felt full, too full, like my brain was expanding inside my skull. And then I understood something. Not in words, just sudden, clear understanding. They wanted something from us, not to hurt us, not to abduct us. They wanted information? No, not quite that either. They wanted to look, to see through our eyes, to understand us. "They're scanning us," I said aloud. "What?" "The lights, they're scanning us, reading us. How do you know that?" I couldn't explain it, I just knew. Pulse, bright, dim. 1 more pulse, brighter than the others. Then the lights went out. All 3 of them, instantly, like someone had flipped a switch. And just like that, everything was normal again. The cold vanished. The pressure in my head disappeared. The air felt like September in South Texas again. Warm, humid, normal. Our vehicle's headlights were on, not struggling anymore, bright and clear, illuminating the highway exactly as they should. Carter and I stood there on the shoulder, breathing hard, looking at the sky. Nothing. Just stars. No blue lights. No hovering objects. Nothing. "Did that really happen?" Carter asked. I checked my phone. I still had the camera app open. I looked at the last video I'd recorded. 7 seconds of footage. The blue lights, visible and clear. Then the video ended abruptly, like I'd stopped recording, but I hadn't stopped recording. The timestamp showed it had ended exactly when the lights vanished. "It happened," I said. Carter walked back to the vehicle, tried the engine. It started immediately, like nothing had ever been wrong. He looked at me through the open door. "What now?" "Now we check the dashcam footage, and then we decide if we're going to tell anyone." We got back in the vehicle. I pulled up the dashcam file from the last 15 minutes. Most of it was normal. Highway, darkness, us pulling over. But when we got to the part where the lights appeared, 9 seconds of black, just like before. Pure, absolute black. The audio was still there. I could hear Carter and me talking, hear us getting out of the vehicle, hear the alarm in our voices. But the video? 9 seconds of nothing. Whatever those lights were, they didn't want to be recorded. Or maybe they couldn't be recorded. Maybe they existed in a way that cameras couldn't capture. But my phone had captured them. 7 seconds of clear footage. "Drive," I said. "Let's get out of here." Carter didn't need to be told twice. He put the vehicle in drive and we left mile marker 47 behind, driving fast, both of us silent. Neither of us spoke for the rest of the shift, but we both knew this wasn't over. We didn't file a report that night, didn't mention it to our supervisor, didn't tell anyone. What would we have said? That we saw mysterious blue lights that made our equipment fail? That something was deleting footage from our dash cam? That we felt a presence in our minds? We would have been laughed out of the station at best, put on administrative leave at worst. Border Patrol doesn't have time for agents who see UFOs. So we kept quiet. But we couldn't stop thinking about it. Over the next week, I must have watched that phone footage 100 times. 7 seconds of blue lights in the night sky. 3 distinct points, then merging, then separating into a circle. Crystal clear. I tried to convince myself there was a rational explanation. Drones, military aircraft, atmospheric phenomena, ball lightning. But none of those explanations fit. Drones don't make radio equipment fail. Military aircraft don't cause localized temperature drops. Atmospheric phenomena don't pulse in perfect rhythm, and they definitely don't erase themselves from camera footage while leaving audio intact. Carter was dealing with it in his own way. He'd gone quiet, withdrawn. When we were on patrol together, he'd barely speak unless it was work-related. And I noticed he was avoiding Highway 83. If our route took us anywhere near mile marker 47, he'd find a reason to detour. I couldn't blame him. I was scared too. But I was also curious, because something about that night stuck with me. Not the fear, though there was plenty of that. It was the feeling I'd had when the lights were pulsing, that sense of being scanned, studied. They weren't hostile. I don't know how I knew that, but I did. Whatever they weren't trying to hurt us. They were trying to understand us, and that made me wonder, had this happened to others? I started digging, quietly. Using my access to department records, I searched for any incident reports from Highway 83 over the past 5 years. Anything unusual, equipment failures, strange sightings, unexplained events. What I found shocked me. There were dozens of reports. Most of them had been filed and immediately dismissed. Equipment malfunction, user error, insufficient evidence. But when you read them all together, a pattern emerged. September 12, 2015. Agent Rodriguez reports dashcam failure at mile marker 46. Camera went black for several seconds during routine patrol. October 3, 2015. Agent Morrison reports seeing unusual lights near mile marker 48. No photo evidence. Report dismissed. March 17, 2016. Agent Kim reports radio failure at mile marker 47. Communications restored after approximately 10 minutes. Attributed to dead zone. June 8, 2016. Agent Thompson reports time discrepancy during patrol. Claims 15 minutes are missing from GPS log. Investigation inconclusive. And it went on, report after report. Different agents, different dates, but always the same location. Always Highway 83 between mile markers 45 and 50. And always dismissed. I printed out every report and brought them to Carter. We met at a diner in Uvalde, off duty, in a back booth where no one would overhear. I spread the papers out on the table. "Look at this," I said. "We're not the first ones." Carter picked up one of the reports. "Read it." Then another. His face grew pale. "How many are there?" he asked. 43 reports over 5 years. And those are just the ones that were officially filed. How many agents saw something but didn't report it because they knew they'd be ridiculed? Jesus. Carter, something is happening on that stretch of highway. Something consistent, repeatable, and the department is ignoring it. He put the papers down. Maybe they're not ignoring it. Maybe they know and they're covering it up. Why would they do that? Because the alternative is admitting there's something out there we don't understand. Something we can't control. That made a disturbing amount of sense. So, what do we do? I asked. Carter was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "We go back." "Back to mile marker 47? Yeah." "Are you insane?" "Probably. But look at these reports. Nobody's been hurt. Equipment fails, weird stuff happens, then everything goes back to normal. Whatever it is, it's not dangerous. We don't know that. We don't know anything, that's the problem." He leaned forward. "Reese, we experienced something that shouldn't be possible. And instead of investigating it, we're hiding. That's not who we are." He was right. We'd both become agents because we wanted to find answers, protect people, solve problems. Running away from this didn't sit right with me. "Okay," I said. "But we do it smart. We document everything. Multiple cameras, audio recorders. We bring backup equipment in case the primary fails. And we don't go alone. Who else would come with us? I don't know yet, but we'll find someone." It took 2 weeks to find the right person. Her name was Dakota Riley, former Air Force, now working as a civilian contractor doing maintenance on Border Patrol vehicles. We'd crossed paths a few times at the station. She was sharp, no nonsense, and, most importantly, she'd worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. If you know anything about UFO lore, you know Wright-Patterson is where the Air Force allegedly studies unidentified aerial phenomena. Dakota wouldn't confirm or deny working on anything classified, but she'd made enough vague comments that I suspected she knew more than she let on. I approached her one afternoon while she was working on a patrol vehicle. "Hey Dakota, got a question for you." She looked up from under the hood. "If this is about the requisition forms, I already submitted them. It's not about work, it's personal." Something in my tone must have caught her attention. She put down her wrench and wiped her hands on a rag. "Okay, what's up? Do you believe in UFOs?" She didn't laugh, didn't roll her eyes, just studied me carefully for a moment. "That's a loaded question," she said. "I know, but I need an honest answer." "Why?" "Because Carter and I saw something, and I need to talk to someone who won't think I'm crazy." Dakota glanced around to make sure no one was listening. Then she motioned me closer. "I believe," she said quietly, "that there are things in our skies that we don't understand. Whether they're extraterrestrial or something else, I don't know. But they're real. I've seen documentation." "At Wright-Patterson?" "I can't talk about that. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking if you'd be willing to help us investigate something we saw on Highway 83. She raised an eyebrow. "The dead zone? You know about it?" "Everyone who's worked Border Patrol for more than a year knows about it. Equipment failures. Strange sightings. Most people avoid it. Carter and I don't want to avoid it. We want to understand it. That's either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. You in?" Dakota thought about it for maybe 10 seconds. Then she nodded. "I'm in, but we do this right. Professional equipment, proper documentation, and if things get dangerous, we abort immediately." "Deal." We spent the next week preparing. Dakota brought equipment I'd never seen before. EMF detectors, radiation scanners, high-quality cameras with infrared capability, audio recorders with multiple redundant backups, even a portable spectrum analyzer to detect any unusual radio frequencies. "If something's out there," she said, "we're going to document it from every angle." We planned the trip for October 1st. New moon, maximum darkness. Same time of night as our previous encounter, between 10 p.m. and midnight. Carter seemed nervous but determined. I was nervous too, but there was also excitement. We were actually doing this. We were going to get answers. The night of October 1st was clear and cool. Perfect conditions. We took 2 vehicles, Carter and I in our patrol truck, Dakota following in her personal SUV loaded with equipment. We maintained radio contact as we drove toward Highway 83. "You sure about this?" Carter asked me. "Too late to back out now. I'm serious. What if it's worse this time? What if we don't come back?" "Then Dakota's our witness. She'll make sure people know what happened." That didn't seem to comfort him much. We reached mile marker 45 at 10:37 p.m. From there, we drove slowly, both vehicles side by side on the empty highway. Dakota had her equipment running, sensors active, cameras recording. Mile marker 46, nothing unusual. Mile marker 47, still nothing. "Maybe it won't happen tonight," Carter said. Maybe. But I could feel it. That same heaviness in the air. The way the darkness seemed thicker here. The way sounds felt muffled. At 10:44 p.m., Dakota's voice crackled over the radio. "Guys, I'm getting some weird readings. EMF just spiked, and my spectrum analyzer is picking up a frequency I've never seen before." "What kind of frequency?" I asked. "I don't know. It's not radio, it's not microwave, it's something else." Carter and I exchanged looks. "Keep recording," I said into the radio. "Document everything." "Already on it." Mile marker 47.5. My dashcam went black. I immediately checked the laptop. The preview was pure black, but the file was still recording. Audio still working. "Dakota, are you seeing this?" I said into the radio. "Seeing what?" My dashcam just went dark. "Mine too," Carter confirmed. "Hold on." Dakota's voice was tense. "My cameras are fine. I'm recording everything clearly. Your vehicles, the highway, everything." So it was only affecting our patrol vehicle cameras, not external ones. The preview stayed black. I started counting. 1, 2, 3. "Reese." Carter's voice was tight. "Look up." I looked through the windshield. 3 blue lights, same as before, hovering in formation above the highway, maybe 40 degrees above the horizon. "Dakota, do you see the lights?" I asked. "What lights?" "In the sky. 3 blue lights. You don't see them?" "I don't see anything. Where are you looking?" I gave her our exact heading. She should have been looking at the same patch of sky. "There's nothing there, Reese, just stars." That sent a chill through me. We could see the lights clearly, but Dakota, in a separate vehicle 50 feet away, couldn't see them at all. 7, 8, 9. The dashcam preview came back. The blue lights were still visible, still hovering. And just like before, they started to move, converging, merging into a single light. "Carter, I think we should—" The engine died. Both vehicles, simultaneously. Carter's patrol truck and Dakota's SUV both went silent at the exact same moment. "What the hell?" Dakota's voice over the radio. "My engine just died." "Ours too," I said. "That's not possible. These are completely different vehicles, different systems. They shouldn't fail at the same time unless—" She stopped. "Unless what?" Carter demanded. "Unless something is actively disabling them." The single blue light was descending now, getting larger, just like before, and the temperature was dropping, fast. "Everyone out of the vehicles," I said. "Now!" We all got out. Dakota grabbed one of her cameras and immediately started filming. I could see her breath fogging in the suddenly frigid air. "You're seeing this, right?" I asked her. "The blue light?" "I see it now. Jesus Christ, it's huge." The light descended to about 50 feet above the highway. Then it stopped. And once again, it split into 3. The lights formed a triangle this time. 1 directly above us, 2 flanking at angles. We were inside the triangle, all 3 of us standing in the middle of Highway 83, surrounded by lights we couldn't explain. Dakota's camera was still recording. The EMF readings are off the charts. Whatever this is, it's generating massive electromagnetic activity. The lights began to pulse. Bright, dim, bright, dim. And with each pulse, I felt that pressure in my head again. That sense of being scanned, read, understood. "They're doing it again," I said. "They're scanning us." "Who?" Dakota asked. "Who's scanning us?" "Whatever's controlling the lights." The pulsing continued, and this time the feeling was stronger, more intense. Images flashed through my mind. Not my memories, someone else's, something else's. I saw Highway 83 from above, saw our 3 tiny figures standing on the asphalt, saw the curve of the earth, saw seas that looked subtly wrong, constellations that weren't quite right. And I felt curiosity. That's the only word for it. Whatever was scanning us was curious about us, fascinated even. "I'm getting something," Dakota said. Her voice sounded distant. "Information, directly in my head. No words, just concepts. They're asking permission." "Permission for what?" Carter asked. "To learn from us, to understand how we think." The pulsing intensified. The pressure in my head grew stronger, and suddenly I understood something fundamental. These lights, whatever they were, had been coming here for years. Scanning travelers on Highway 83, learning about humanity one encounter at a time. The equipment failures weren't attacks. They were side effects. The way a strong magnet might erase a hard drive. Not intentional, just unavoidable. And the black footage, that wasn't deletion, it was the absence of light. During those 9 seconds, no light was reaching the cameras because all available light was being absorbed, redirected, used for something. "I'm going to try something," Dakota said. She raised her camera and pointed it directly at the center light. "Dakota, wait, too late." She started filming. The lights immediately stopped pulsing. For 3 seconds, everything was still, silent. The lights just hovered there, unmoving. Then they shot straight up into the sky so fast I couldn't track them. One moment they were there. The next, gone. The temperature returned to normal instantly. Our vehicle engines started on their own. Dakota was staring at her camera screen. Did you see that? They left the moment I pointed the camera at them directly. They don't want to be recorded up close, I said. They'll accept distant footage, but not close up. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's harmful to them somehow. Or maybe they're just private. Carter was looking at the sky. Are they gone? For now. We stood there for a few more minutes, waiting to see if the lights would return. They didn't. Eventually, we got back in our vehicles. I pulled up the dashcam footage. Sure enough, 9 seconds of black during the exact time the lights were present. But Dakota's external camera had captured everything. The lights, the triangle formation, even the moment they shot into the sky. We have proof, she said, reviewing her footage. Actual, documented proof. What do we do with it? Carter asked. That was the question, wasn't it? We'd come out here looking for answers. We'd gotten some, but not all. We knew something was on Highway 83, something that scanned travelers, something that caused equipment failures and left 9-second gaps in camera footage. But we still didn't know what it was, or why it was here, or what it wanted beyond simply studying us. We need to go back, I said. Again? Carter looked at me like I was insane. One more time. But this time, we try to communicate. We bring something that can't be affected by electromagnetic interference. Pen and paper, flashlights, simple tools, and we try to talk to them. Dakota was nodding slowly. Direct contact. Instead of just letting them scan us passively, we actively engage. It's risky, Carter said. Everything about this is risky. He thought about it, then sighed. Okay, one more time, but after that, we decide what to do with the evidence. Whether we go public or keep it quiet. Deal. We waited a week before going back, partly to prepare, partly to process what we'd experienced. None of us talked about it much, but I know we were all thinking about it constantly. I kept rewatching Dakota's footage, the triangle of lights, the way they pulsed in perfect synchronization, the impossible speed with which they'd vanished. And I kept thinking about that feeling, the sense of being scanned, the images that had appeared in my mind, Highway 83 from above, constellations that looked wrong. What if they weren't wrong? What if they were right, just seen from a different perspective? What if those lights weren't from Earth? I tried not to let my mind go there, tried to stay rational, focused on what we knew for certain. Something was happening on Highway 83, something real, something documented. Everything else was speculation. Dakota spent the week building what she called a hardened camera system, equipment that would keep recording even if electromagnetic interference killed everything else. Multiple redundant batteries, shielded circuitry, mechanical backups. If they show up again, she said, we're going to get footage. No 9-second gaps, no blackouts, complete documentation. Carter was quieter, more withdrawn. I could tell this was affecting him. He'd barely sleep, would snap at minor things, spent long periods just staring into space. On October 7th, 2 days before our planned return trip, I found him sitting in his patrol vehicle in the station parking lot at 2 a.m., just sitting there in the dark. I knocked on the window. He jumped, then saw it was me and unlocked the door. "What are you doing out here?" I asked, climbing into the passenger seat. "Couldn't sleep." "Thinking about Highway 83? "Always." He was quiet for a moment. "Reese, what if we're making a mistake? What if we should just leave this alone? You think we should walk away? I think maybe whatever's out there doesn't want to be found. It stays hidden, avoids direct contact, erases itself from camera footage. Maybe that's intentional. Maybe we're violating something by pushing for more. Or maybe it's waiting for someone brave enough to try. Or stupid enough. Carter, if you don't want to come, I understand. This isn't an official investigation. You don't have to— I'm coming, he interrupted. I'm scared, but I'm coming. I just needed to say out loud that this might be a bad idea. It's definitely a bad idea. That's why we need someone sensible along to keep us from doing anything too stupid. That got a small smile from him. Is that supposed to be me? You're the sensible one. I'm the curious idiot. Dakota's the reckless scientist. Between the three of us, maybe we'll survive. Maybe. October 9th arrived cold and clear. The temperature had dropped into the low 60s, unusual for South Texas in early October, but not unheard of. We met at the station at 9 p.m. Dakota had brought enough equipment to fill her entire SUV: cameras, sensors, recording devices, and, surprisingly, a portable satellite uplink. What's that for? I asked. Live streaming, she said. If something happens to us, I want a record going to a remote server. Someone will know what we found. That seems excessive. After what we've seen, nothing is excessive. We loaded up and headed out. 2 vehicles again. Carter and I in the patrol truck, Dakota following with her equipment van. The drive to mile marker 45 took 40 minutes. Neither Carter nor I spoke much. We were both tense, both knowing that tonight might give us real answers, or real trouble. At 10:15 p.m. we reached the zone. Mile marker 45. Here we go, Carter said quietly. Dakota, you ready? I asked over the radio. Everything's recording. Satellite uplink is active. EMF detectors are hot. I'm ready. We drove slowly forward. Mile marker 46, 46.5, 47. At exactly 10:23 p.m., every piece of electronic equipment in both vehicles went dark. Not dead. Dark. Like someone had flipped a master switch and turned off electricity in a 200-yard radius. Our engines kept running. They were mechanical enough to not need electronics, but the dash lights, the laptop, the radio, the GPS, even our phones, everything with a circuit board went black. Dakota's voice came over the radio. Wait, no. The radio was dead, but I heard her voice anyway, except I didn't hear it. I felt it in my mind. Can you hear me? Dakota, I said aloud. Are you broadcasting somehow? I'm not talking. I'm thinking, and you're receiving. How is that possible? Carter's voice joined in. Again, not through sound, but directly in my mind. I can hear both of you. What the hell is happening? And then a fourth voice. Not Dakota, not Carter, not me, not human. You returned, again, 3 times now, persistence. The voice, the presence, was vast, ancient, and deeply curious. I looked through the windshield. 3 blue lights were descending, slower this time, more deliberately, like they were being careful. What do you want? I thought, hoping it would hear me the same way I was hearing it. To understand. Always to understand. You are brief, but complex. We study. Who are you? Dakota's mental voice, sharp and clear. We are. There is no word in your language. We are watchers. Recorders. We document. The lights descended to about 30 feet above the highway. This close, I could see they weren't solid. They were more like tears in reality. holes through which something else was visible, and that something else was the source of the blue glow. "Why do you erase yourselves from our cameras?" I asked. "We do not erase. Your devices cannot perceive our true form. They record absence because we exist between spaces. Your eyes see one thing, your machines see another. Neither is complete truth." The 9 seconds of black footage, Dakota thought. That's the time it takes for you to fully manifest in our reality. Perceptive. Yes, 9 cycles for the fold to stabilize. During those cycles, light bends around us. Your recording devices see darkness, but we are present. Carter spoke up mentally. Why here? Why Highway 83? This location sits at a convergence. Realities touch here more easily. The boundary is thin. We can observe with less effort. How long have you been watching us? Since before your species marked time. We watched you emerge, watched you grow, watched you spread. You are fascinating. Brief lives burning bright, then extinguishing. We do not understand how you endure it. There was something sad in that last statement. Or maybe not sad. Melancholy. It was hard to interpret emotions from a presence that wasn't human. "Can we see you?" Dakota asked. "Your true form?" The lights pulsed once, twice, then. "You cannot survive seeing us. Your minds are not shaped for it. We appear to you as lights because that is all your consciousness can process without fracturing." That was terrifying. These beings, whatever they were, existed in a form so alien that looking at them directly would break our minds. "But you can see us?" I asked. "Yes, you are simple, linear, confined to 3 dimensions and forward time. Beautiful in your limitations. Are you from another planet?" The presence seemed amused by that. "Not planet, not dimension. We are from a different layer of existence. What you call reality is one sheet in an infinite book. We exist between the pages. I tried to wrap my head around that. Failed completely." The other agents, Carter thought. The ones who reported seeing things on this highway. Were those you too? Yes. We sample travelers. Learn your languages, your fears, your desires. Each mind teaches us something new. And you just let them go? Let them remember? Most do not remember. You 3 are unusual. You returned. You sought us. This makes you different. We chose to communicate fully. "Why communicate?" Dakota asked. "Why not just observe?" "Because you asked. Because you were brave enough to return despite fear. Because we are lonely." That last word hit me like a physical impact. Lonely. These vast, ancient, incomprehensible beings were lonely. "There are others like you?" I asked. "Many. But we do not communicate as you do. We exist in parallel, rarely touching. Your species, all physical species, you interact constantly. Share thoughts, build together, create meaning through connection. We envy this." The lights descended further. Now they were maybe 10 feet above the highway, close enough that I could feel heat radiating from them, or cold. It was hard to tell. My senses were confused. "May we show you something?" the presence asked. "Show us what?" "What we see when we look at you." Before any of us could respond, the world changed. I was suddenly looking at myself from outside my body. Saw Carter next to me. Saw Dakota in her SUV. But I wasn't seeing with eyes. I was seeing with awareness, perception beyond the physical. And I could see more than just our bodies. I could see our thoughts, our memories, our emotions. They were visible as colors and shapes that shifted and flowed around us like aurora borealis. Carter's mind was a deep blue, tinged with fear but also determination. Dakota's was sharp silver, analytical and curious. Mine was amber gold, burning with questions. And I could see beyond even that. I could see our connections, invisible threads linking us to people we loved, places we'd been, experiences that had shaped us. Every moment of our lives visible at once, layered on top of each other. We were so much more than I'd realized. So much more than just bodies walking through time. And looking at myself this way, I understood why these beings found us fascinating. We were impossibly complex. Every human was an entire universe of experience and emotion, burning bright for a few brief decades, then gone. This is how we see you, the presence said. Every moment, every thought, every connection, you are brief but infinite. The vision faded. I was back in my body, sitting in the patrol truck, breathing hard. "Did you—" Carter started to speak aloud, then stopped. His voice was shaking. "Yeah," I managed. "I saw it too. That was beautiful." Dakota's voice over the radio, actual radio this time. The electronics had come back on. And terrifying. The lights were ascending now, pulling back up into the sky. "We must go," the presence said in our minds. "Others are noticing. Your military watches these skies. We cannot risk fuller contact." "Wait," I thought desperately. "Will we see you again?" "Perhaps, if you return. If you remain open. We will watch for you." "What should we tell others?" "Tell them what you choose. They will believe or not believe. It changes nothing. We will continue watching, recording, learning, until your species grows enough to perceive us fully." "How long will that take?" "For you, never. For your descendants, perhaps centuries, perhaps millennia. Time is different for us." The lights were high now, 50 feet, 100, still ascending. "Thank you," Dakota thought, "for showing us, for talking to us. Thank you for returning, for being curious despite fear. You remind us why we watch, why we study. Your kind burns so bright." And then they were gone. The lights shot upward and vanished, leaving only stars. We sat in silence for a long time. Eventually, Carter started the engine. Dakota pulled up alongside us. "We got footage," she said through the window. Her face was pale, but her eyes were bright. The hardened camera kept recording. We got everything. Including the part where they showed us. I couldn't finish the sentence. "No, that part is still 9 seconds of black. Whatever they showed us existed outside of what cameras can capture. So we have proof they're real, but not proof of what they are or how they communicate. People will think we doctored the footage anyway," Carter said. "Blue lights in the sky, that's not enough, not without the rest of it." He was right. We had footage of lights. We had EMF readings. We had documented equipment failures. But the really important stuff, the mental communication, the vision they'd shown us, the understanding we'd gained, none of that could be proven. "So, what do we do?" Dakota asked. I thought about it. About the lonely beings watching us from between the pages of reality. About the beauty of seeing ourselves as they saw us. About the trust they'd shown by communicating fully. "We keep it quiet," I said finally. "We don't try to prove anything, we just know. And if others ask us about Highway 83, we tell them the truth. But we don't force it. We let people come to it on their own. Like they did with us," Carter said. "Exactly." Dakota nodded slowly. "And if they come back, if we see them again, then we listen and we learn. and we remember that we're part of something much bigger than we realized. That was 3 years ago. I left Border Patrol 6 months later. Not because of what happened, well, not entirely. I just couldn't look at that job the same way anymore. Couldn't focus on borders and barriers when I'd seen how connected everything really was. Carter left too. He's teaching now, high school history. Says he wants to help kids understand that the world is stranger and more wonderful than textbooks suggest. Dakota still works at the station, still maintains vehicles, but she's also started a quiet project documenting unexplained phenomena along the border. No official backing. Just her, collecting stories, recording testimony, building a database of the impossible. We meet for coffee once a month. Usually don't talk about what happened. Don't need to. We all carry it with us. That vision of ourselves as the watchers saw us. That understanding of what we are. Sometimes, late at night, I'll drive out to Highway 83. Park near mile marker 47. Turn off my engine and wait. Most times, nothing happens. Just darkness and stars and the normal sounds of the desert at night. But sometimes, maybe once every few months, I'll see 3 blue lights in the sky, hovering, watching, and I'll feel that presence in my mind. Not speaking, just acknowledging me, remembering me. And I'll think back at them. I remember too. Then the lights fade, and I'm alone again. I haven't tried to record them since that last encounter. Haven't brought cameras or sensors or anything that might feel invasive. If they want to be documented, they know where to find Dakota's ever-running equipment. But I think they prefer it this way. Quiet contact. Mutual respect. A relationship built on curiosity rather than proof. Because that's what they taught us. Not everything needs to be captured, documented, proven. Sometimes the most important truths are the ones we carry inside. Impossible to show others, but absolutely real to those who've experienced them. The dashcam footage still exists. Dakota has it locked in a safe deposit box, along with all the other documentation from that night. Maybe someday it'll matter. Maybe someone will need to see it, believe it, understand it. But for now, it stays hidden, like the watchers themselves, like the 9 seconds of black that appear whenever they manifest fully in our reality. Because some gaps aren't missing information, they're doorways. Moments when reality folds, when the pages of the book touch, when something vast and ancient and lonely reaches across the barrier and says, "We see you. We know you. You are brief but infinite. You burn bright." And that's enough. If you ever find yourself on Highway 83 between mile markers 45 and 50, and your equipment starts failing, and the temperature drops, and you see 3 blue lights in the sky, don't run. Don't try to record them. Just open your mind. Listen. Let them show you what they see. Because they're not there to hurt you or take you or experiment on you. They're there because they're lonely. Because they find us fascinating. Because in all their infinite existence, they've never seen anything quite like us. Brief lives burning impossibly bright in the darkness. And maybe, if you're lucky and brave and open enough, they'll show you what they showed us. That you are so much more than you realize. That every moment of your life creates ripples in reality. That you are connected to everything and everyone in ways you can't begin to comprehend. That you are, in your own small way, infinite. The dashcam will go black for 9 seconds. The footage will show nothing, but you'll remember. And that's what matters. I still have those 9 seconds memorized. Not the black footage. The experience. The moment when they folded reality and showed us ourselves. When 3 humans stood on a dark highway and saw through the eyes of beings who exist between the pages of existence. 9 seconds that contained infinity. 9 seconds that changed everything. 9 seconds that will stay black on every recording device in the world, because what happened during them can't be captured by machines. Only by minds. Only by hearts. Only by people brave enough to return to the dark highway and ask, "What are you?" And patient enough to listen when they answer. Watchers. Recorders. Witnesses to your brief, bright, infinite lives. That's what happened on Highway 83. That's why the camera's 9 seconds will always be black. Not because something was deleted, because something was added that technology can't measure. Connection. Understanding. A glimpse of the truth that we're never truly alone, even on the darkest, emptiest highway in Texas. They're always watching, always recording, always learning from us. And now, so are we. 3 years after our last encounter, I received an email that changed everything again. The subject line was simple. Highway 83, you're not alone. I almost deleted it. Probably should have. But something made me open it. Mr. Allerton, my name is Dr. Sarah Mendoza. I'm a physicist at the University of Texas, and I've been collecting testimonies from individuals who've experienced unexplained phenomena along Highway 83 for the past 7 years. Your name came up in connection with several incident reports filed during your time with Border Patrol. I'd like to meet with you. What you experienced isn't isolated. It's part of a pattern, one that's been occurring for much longer than we realized. If you're willing to talk, I have something to show you, something I think you'll want to see. I stared at the email for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Carter, Dakota, and I had made peace with our experience. We'd agreed to keep it private. Why dredge it all up again? But another part of me, the part that had returned to mile marker 47 3 times despite the fear, was desperately curious. I wrote back. We met 2 days later at a coffee shop in San Antonio. Dr. Mendoza was younger than I'd expected. Maybe 40, with sharp eyes that reminded me of Dakota. She carried a worn leather briefcase and ordered black coffee. "Thank you for meeting me," she said, settling into the booth across from me. "I know this must be strange." Strange is relative at this point. She smiled slightly. "I suppose it is. Mr. Allerton, Reese. How much do you know about the history of Highway 83? I know it's been there since the 50s. I know Border Patrol considers it a dead zone for radio communications in certain sections. I know local truckers avoid it at night if they can. Did you know that the highway was built over what the Lipan Apache called the place where the sky touches the earth? I hadn't known that. Dr. Mendoza opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. Indigenous peoples in this region have stories going back hundreds of years about lights in the sky. Beings that would descend and watch them. They weren't afraid. They considered it sacred. A place where they could commune with spirits from other worlds. She spread papers across the table. Old documents, maps, photographs. When Highway 83 was constructed in 1953, workers reported strange equipment failures. Compasses spinning. Surveying equipment giving impossible readings. 3 workers claimed to have seen lights hovering over the construction site at night. Did anyone investigate? Officially? No, unofficially. She pulled out a faded military document. The Air Force sent a team from Project Blue Book. They spent 2 weeks in the area. Their conclusion was unexplained phenomena warranting further study. Then the investigation was shut down. Why? That's what I've been trying to figure out for 7 years. She leaned forward. Reese, since 1953, there have been over 300 documented incidents on Highway 83, equipment failures, missing time, strange lights, and that's just the official reports. The real number is probably 10 times higher. My coffee had gone cold. 300? At least, and they all follow the same pattern. 9 to 15 seconds of lost time or camera blackout. Temperature drops. Blue lights, sometimes 3, sometimes more. And almost everyone who experiences it reports the same thing. They weren't afraid. They felt understood. She was describing exactly what we'd experienced. I've interviewed 47 people who've had encounters, Dr. Mendoza continued. Truckers, Border Patrol agents, ranchers, hikers. They all saw the same things you did, and almost all of them describe receiving some kind of message or understanding during the encounter. What kind of message? That's the interesting part. It's different for everyone, but the core is always the same. We're being watched, studied, not for any malicious purpose, just out of curiosity, like we're part of some vast anthropological study. The Watchers, I said quietly. Dr. Mendoza went very still. What did you call them? The Watchers, that's what they called themselves. When they communicated with us. They communicated with you verbally? Telepathically. During our last encounter, they spoke directly into our minds. Dr. Mendoza's hands were shaking slightly as she pulled out a notebook. Reese, of the 47 people I've interviewed, only 3 have reported direct communication, and all 3 used the same term, Watchers. The implications of that hit me hard. These beings, whatever they were consistent. They showed themselves to many people, but only spoke to a few, and when they did speak, they identified themselves the same way every time. Why us? I asked. Why did they choose to communicate with some people and not others? I have a theory. Dr. Mendoza pulled out a chart. Look at this. These are all the people who reported direct communication. You, a trucker named James Ortiz, and a retired Air Force pilot named Patricia Holt. Do you see the pattern? I studied the chart. All 3 of us had returned to Highway 83 multiple times after our initial encounter. All 3 had approached the experience with curiosity rather than pure fear. All 3 had been open to communication. They respond to intention, I said slowly. They only talk to people who come back seeking understanding. Exactly. Most people who see the lights never return. They're too scared. Or they convince themselves it was nothing, or they just want to forget. But the ones who come back, the ones who ask questions, those are the ones the Watchers engage with. She pulled out one more document. This one was recent, dated just 6 months ago. This is a report from a graduate student named Marcus Rivera. He's been camping near mile marker 47 for the past year, trying to document the phenomena. He's recorded over 50 instances of equipment interference, 12 visual sightings, and 3 direct contacts. Where is he now? That's the problem. He went out 3 weeks ago for another observation session. He hasn't been seen since. The coffee shop suddenly felt colder. What do you think happened to him? I asked. I don't know. His car is still parked near mile marker 47. His equipment is still there, but Marcus is gone. No signs of struggle, no indication of where he went, just gone. You think the Watchers took him? I think he might have gone with them. Dr. Mendoza met my eyes. In his last video log, recorded the night before he disappeared, he said something interesting. He said the Watchers had offered him a choice, to stay or to go, to remain human or to become something else. I remembered that feeling during our last encounter, the sense that we were standing at a threshold, that we could step through if we wanted to. We'd chosen to stay, but what if Marcus had chosen differently? Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I think Marcus isn't the first person to make that choice. I've found 7 other cases over the past 70 years where people disappeared near Highway 83. No bodies, no evidence of foul play, just gone. And in several cases, people reported seeing those individuals in the weeks leading up to their disappearance talking about messages from the lights, or opportunities to transcend. You think the Watchers are recruiting people? I think they're offering an opportunity to join them, to become observers instead of the observed, and some people are accepting. The thought was simultaneously terrifying and tempting. What would it be like to exist between the pages of reality, to see all of time at once, to understand the universe in a way human minds couldn't normally grasp? But it would mean leaving everything behind: family, friends, humanity itself. Have you told anyone else about this? I asked. Who would believe me? I'm a physicist talking about interdimensional beings abducting people with their consent. I'd lose my tenure, my reputation, everything. So why continue? She was quiet for a moment, then, because it's real, because it matters. Because these beings, the Watchers, they're trying to tell us something. Not just about them, but about us. About what we could become. She gathered her papers. I wanted to meet you because you're one of the few people who's experienced direct contact and come back. You chose to stay human. I need to understand why. I thought about that night. Standing on Highway 83 with Carter and Dakota, feeling the presence of something vast and ancient offering us a glimpse of infinity. Why had we chosen to stay? Because we weren't ready, I said finally. Because becoming something else, even something incredible, means losing who you are, and I wasn't ready to stop being me. Dr. Mendoza nodded. That's what I thought. But Marcus was ready, and there might be others who are ready too. She stood to leave, then paused. One more thing. In Marcus's final video, he said the Watchers told him something. They said that humanity is approaching a threshold. That soon, more of us will be ready. That the boundary between worlds is thinning, and contact will become more frequent. What does that mean? I think it means this is just the beginning. The encounters on Highway 83 aren't isolated incidents. They're preparation. The Watchers are slowly introducing themselves to us, teaching us, preparing us for something. For what? I don't know, but I think we're going to find out soon. That conversation was 6 months ago. Since then, I've noticed something. The news has been full of UFO stories. Not the usual conspiracy theory stuff, credible reports, military pilots documenting aerial phenomena, government officials admitting that there are things in our skies we can't explain. The stigma is lifting. People are starting to talk openly about encounters, starting to ask questions. And I wonder if Dr. Mendoza was right, if the Watchers have been preparing us, slowly revealing themselves, waiting for humanity to reach a point where we can accept their existence without panic. I still go to Highway 83 sometimes, still park near mile marker 47, still wait. The lights haven't appeared to me in over a year, but I can feel them watching, always watching, and I know that when humanity is ready, when enough of us have seen what Carter, Dakota, and I saw, they'll reveal themselves fully. Not as invaders, not as gods, as neighbors, as fellow travelers in the vast cosmos, as Watchers who've been waiting patiently for us to evolve enough to watch back. The camera will still show 9 seconds of black. Technology still can't capture what happens when realities touch. But more and more people are experiencing those 9 seconds. More and more are remembering. And when enough of us remember, when enough of us understand, that's when everything will change. The Watchers are patient. They've been here for centuries. They can wait a little longer, but not much longer. The boundary is thinning. The threshold approaches. And soon, very soon, we'll all have to make the same choice Marcus made. Stay or go. Remain or transcend. Keep watching or become watchers ourselves. I've made my choice. I'm staying. I'm remaining human. But I don't judge anyone who chooses differently, because I've seen what they're offering. I've felt it, understood it, and it's beautiful. Terrifying, yes, but beautiful. You ever see something so impossible that your brain just refuses to process it? Not scary impossible. Not supernatural impossible. Just physically impossible. Like the laws of reality took a coffee break and forgot to come back. That's what happened to me on Route 277, about 15 miles north of the Texas-Mexico border. May 19, 2018. A Friday night that should have been routine, but turned into something I'm still trying to explain 3 years later. My name is Vince Del Bosque. I'm a long-haul trucker. Been driving for 22 years. Started when I was 23, fresh out of the Army, looking for a job that let me be alone with my thoughts. I've driven every major highway in the continental United States, seen all kinds of weird stuff. Accidents, weather phenomena. Once saw a tornado form right in front of me in Oklahoma, but I'd never seen anything like what I saw that night. I was hauling a load of commercial refrigeration units from San Antonio to a warehouse in Eagle Pass. Standard run. I'd done it maybe 30 times before. The route takes you down through some of the emptiest country in Texas, long stretches of nothing but scrubland, mesquite, and the occasional ranch gate. Route 277 is even lonelier than Highway 83, if you can believe that. At least 83 sees some border patrol traffic. 277 is just you in the darkness, and maybe one or two other vehicles if you're lucky. It was around 11:30 p.m. when I passed through Carrizo Springs. I'd grabbed coffee and a sandwich at the truck stop there, topped off my diesel, checked my load straps. Everything normal, everything routine. The night was clear. No clouds. Temperature was still in the high 70s, warm for May, but not unusual. The stars were out in force, so bright they almost hurt to look at. That's what I love about driving these empty roads. The sky out here looks like something from another planet. My CB radio was on, set to channel 19, the main trucker channel. Nothing but static and the occasional burst of conversation from drivers hundreds of miles away. The AM radio was playing some late-night talk show. Guy was talking about aliens coincidentally. Government conspiracies, Area 51, the usual stuff. I wasn't paying much attention, just driving, watching the white lines roll by in my headlights, counting down the miles to Eagle Pass. That's when I saw it. At first I thought it was a power line. You know how sometimes in the dark, power lines catch light from somewhere and seem to glow? Like that, except there were no power poles out here. No infrastructure at all, just open scrubland, stretching away in every direction. But there it was. A thin, perfectly straight line of white light, maybe 50 yards ahead of my truck, hovering about 20 feet above the ground, running perpendicular to the highway, left to right, perfectly horizontal. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, looked again. Still there. The line was maybe 40 feet long, thin, couldn't have been more than an inch wide. Pure white. Not glowing exactly. More like it was made of concentrated light. Like someone had taken a laser pointer and stretched it into a line, and it was just hanging there. Motionless. About 20 feet above the scrubland. I slowed down. Not because I was scared, not yet. More because my brain was trying to figure out what the hell I was looking at. Power line? No poles. Reflection? Nothing to reflect off of. Some kind of surveying equipment? At 11:30 at night in the middle of nowhere. I kept driving slowly toward it. 30 yards, 20, 10. That's when I realized something that made my skin crawl. The line wasn't casting any shadow. My headlights were pointed right at it. Should have been illuminating the ground beneath it. Should have been casting a shadow on the scrubland below. But there was nothing. The light from my truck passed right through where the line was, like it wasn't even there. The ground underneath it looked exactly the same as the ground on either side. "What the hell?" I said aloud. I brought the truck to a stop, right there in the middle of Route 277. Engine idling. Headlights pointed at this impossible line of white light floating in the air. I grabbed my CB mic. Breaker, this is Diamondback. Anybody out there seeing what I'm seeing on 277 near mile marker? I checked. Near marker 62. Over. Static. I tried again. Any units on 277, this is Diamondback. Got a situation here. Some kind of light in the road. Anybody copy? Morse static. Then a voice. Distant and crackling. What kind light, Diamondback? Can't explain it, I said. It's like a line, a white line, just hanging in the air. You anywhere near? The CB went dead. Not static. Just silence. I looked at the radio. The power light was still on. Channel display was still showing 19, but no sound. Not even static. Hello? I said into the mic. Nothing. I tried the AM radio, turned the dial. Every station was dead air. That's when I started to get scared. I looked back at the line. It was still there, still perfectly horizontal. Still not casting any shadow. And then it moved. Not fast. Slow. Deliberate. The line began to descend, lowering toward the ground like an elevator going down. Smooth. Controlled. Silent. I watched it drop from 20 feet to 15, to 10, to 5. At about 3 feet above the ground, it stopped, and then the ends of the line began to curve. Left end curving left, right end curving right, like someone was bending it into a smile or a horseshoe. Within maybe 10 seconds, the straight line had become a perfect arch. The two ends touching the ground on either side of the highway. The middle still suspended about 3 feet up. I was staring at a glowing white archway spanning Route 277. Okay, I said to myself. Okay, Vince, you're tired. You've been driving for 8 hours. You're seeing things. But I wasn't tired. I'd had coffee. I felt wide awake, alert, and that arch was absolutely, definitely real. I could see the scrubland through it, could see the dark sky beyond. The arch wasn't solid, it was just light. Pure light formed into a shape. My engine was still running. I could feel the vibration through the steering wheel, could smell the faint diesel exhaust. Everything else was normal, except for the impossible arch of light in front of my truck. I thought about backing up, turning around, finding another route. But something stopped me. Curiosity, maybe. Or stubbornness. Or maybe just the trucker's instinct that says you don't let anything stop you from making your delivery. I put the truck in gear and started forward. Slowly, maybe 5 miles per hour, watching the arch the whole time. As I got closer, I noticed something else. The air around the arch looked different. Wavy, like heat shimmer off asphalt in summer. But it was nighttime, and not that hot. 10 feet from the arch, 5 feet, 3 feet. The front of my truck passed under it, and everything went wrong. The engine died, just stopped, no sputter, no cough, just instant silence. All my lights went out, headlights, dashboard, running lights, everything. Complete darkness, except for that white arch still glowing behind me. I tried the ignition. Nothing. Not even a click. The truck was completely dead. "Come on," I muttered, turning the key again. "Come on, don't do this." Nothing. I was sitting in a dead truck in the middle of Route 277 at nearly midnight, with an impossible arch of light behind me and no working radio. Then I noticed the temperature. It was dropping. Fast. 5 seconds ago, it had been 70-something degrees. Now my breath was fogging in front of me. I could see it in the faint glow from the arch. What the hell is happening? I reached for my cell phone. Maybe I could call for help. AAA, Border Patrol, anybody. The phone was dead. Completely black. Wouldn't turn on no matter how many times I pressed the power button. The temperature kept dropping. I could feel it through my t-shirt. My arms were covered in goosebumps. And then I heard something. A sound, low, almost below the threshold of hearing, like a bass note so deep you feel it more than hear it. It was coming from the arch. I turned to look through my side mirror. The arch was changing again. The 2 points where it touched the ground were starting to glow brighter, pulsing, slow and steady, like a heartbeat. Pulse, pause, pulse, pause. With each pulse, the sound got slightly louder, slightly more pronounced, and the air was getting colder. I could see frost forming on my windshield, inside the cab. Actual frost. In May, in South Texas. "Okay," I said aloud. "Okay, I need to get out of here." I grabbed the door handle and pushed. The door swung open. The cold outside was even worse. Had to be in the 30s, maybe lower. My breath came out in thick white clouds. I dropped down from the cab onto the asphalt. My boots made a crunching sound. When I looked down, I saw why. There was frost on the road. Thin, crystalline, spreading outward from the arch like a slow-motion explosion. And the arch was growing, not getting taller, getting wider. The 2 endpoints were sliding apart, moving along the ground away from each other. The arch was expanding. Slowly. Maybe an inch per second. But definitely expanding. I backed away from my truck, backed away from the arch, started walking backward down the highway, unable to take my eyes off it. That's when I heard the voice. "Don't move." I spun around. There was a man standing about 30 feet behind me, illuminated by... Wait, where was the light coming from? My truck lights were dead. The only light source was the arch behind me. But this guy was lit from the front, like he was standing in front of a spotlight. "Who are you?" I called out. "Border Patrol," he said. But he wasn't wearing a uniform. Just jeans and a button-down shirt. "Are you okay? Do I look okay? My truck died. I pointed at the arch. "There's a thing in the road. Some kind of light. What is that?" The man walked closer. As he did, I could see him more clearly. Hispanic guy, maybe 45. Serious face, but not hostile. More concerned. "My name is Hank Alvarado," he said. "I'm an agent with Border Patrol, but I'm off duty. I live about 2 miles from here. Saw the light from my property. Drove out to investigate." "You can see it too?" I asked, relieved I wasn't hallucinating. "Yeah, I can see it." He was staring at the arch. I've seen it before too. Not exactly like this, but similar. "You've seen this before?" "Twice. Once about 6 months ago. Once last year." The arch was still expanding. Now it was wide enough that it spanned not just the highway but the scrubland on either side, maybe 60 feet across. The pulsing had gotten faster, more urgent. "What is it?" I asked. "I don't know. But both times I've seen something like this, it lasted about 15 minutes and then disappeared. Your truck will start again once it's gone. How do you know? Because that's what happened to my truck. Both times. He pointed to a pickup parked on the shoulder maybe 100 yards back. That's as close as I could get before my engine died. Same thing happened to me 6 months ago. Dead engine, dead radio, temperature drop, all of it. Is it dangerous? Hank was quiet for a moment, then, I don't think so. It doesn't seem to want to hurt anybody. It just is. What do you mean, it? What is it? I told you. I don't know. We stood there watching the arch expand. It was maybe 80 feet wide now. And the pulsing had developed a rhythm, almost like music. 3 quick pulses, 1 long pulse, 3 quick, 1 long, over and over. Does it make that sound for you? I asked. What sound? That low sound, like a bass note. Hank looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. I don't hear anything. You don't hear that? No. That was unsettling. We were both seeing the same thing, but I was hearing something he wasn't. The arch reached its maximum width, maybe 100 feet, and stopped expanding. The pulsing stabilized. The temperature stopped dropping, though it was still freezing. And then something else appeared. Above the arch, maybe 30 feet up, a point of light. Small, bright white, just hanging there. We both saw it. I could tell by the way Hank's posture changed. Tensed. That's new, he said quietly. The point of light began to move, descending slowly toward the arch. When it reached the apex, the highest point of the arch, it stopped, and then it split. 1 point became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8. Within seconds there were dozens of points of light, all arranged in a perfect line along the arch, like runway lights. Hank, I said, I think we should back up. Yeah. We both took several steps backward. The points of light began to pulse, not all at once, in sequence, starting from the left end of the arch and traveling to the right, like a wave, then back again, left to right to left. It was beautiful, hypnotic. I found myself staring at it, unable to look away. Vince, Hank said. His voice sounded distant. Vince, don't look directly at it. Why? Just don't. But I couldn't stop. The pattern of lights was too mesmerizing. The way they flowed, the rhythm. It felt like it was pulling me in, drawing me toward the arch. I took a step forward. Vince, no. Hank grabbed out my arm. Don't go near it. I just want to look. No, you don't. You think you do, but you don't. Trust me. He pulled me back, hard. I stumbled and fell onto the frost-covered asphalt. The impact snapped me out of whatever trance I'd been in. What the hell? I gasped. What was that? I don't know, but the same thing happened to me last time. I got close to it and I couldn't stop walking. My wife had to physically drag me away. Your wife saw this too? Yeah. She won't talk about it, though. Won't even admit it happened. Acts like it was a shared dream or something. The lights on the arch were still pulsing, still flowing in that hypnotic pattern. But now that I was looking away from them, I could resist the pull. How long until it goes away? I asked. Hank checked his watch. Should be any minute now. First time it lasted 12 minutes, second time 15. This is minute 13. We waited, watching from a safe distance, not looking directly at the lights. At minute 15, the pulsing stopped. The lights held steady for about 10 seconds. Then, one by one, they began to wink out, starting from the ends and working toward the center. When the last light disappeared, the arch began to rise, slowly lifting off the ground, ascending, getting smaller as it rose. By the time it was 50 feet up, it was back to being a straight line. And then it shot straight up into the sky. So fast, I couldn't track it. 1 second, it was there. The next, gone. The temperature started rising immediately. The frost on the road began to melt. Within 30 seconds, it was like nothing had happened. I stood up, brushed frost crystals off my jeans, looked at Hank. Did that really just happen? Yeah. What do we do now? We check your truck. We walked back to my rig. I climbed into the cab, turned the ignition. The engine roared to life. All the lights came on, dashboard, headlights, everything. The CB radio crackled with static, then a voice. Diamondback, you still there? Over? I grabbed the mic. Yeah, I'm here. Had some engine trouble. I'm good now. Over. Copy that. Drive safe. Over. I looked at Hank through the open door. My truck works. Told you it would. This is insane. Yeah. Has anyone else seen this? Are there reports? Hank shook his head. A few, but nobody talks about it. People think you're crazy if you mention lights in the sky around here. Too many UFO stories, too much stigma. But this really happened. We both saw it. Doesn't matter. Nobody will believe us. He looked up at the sky where the line had disappeared. I've reported it twice. Both times, Border Patrol said they'd look into it. Never heard back. I think they file it under weird stuff we don't understand and forget about it. So we just, what? Pretend it didn't happen? What else can we do? Hank pulled a card from his pocket and handed it to me. But if you ever see it again, call me. I want to know if there's a pattern. If it shows up in specific places, specific times. I took the card. You're investigating this on your own? Somebody has to. I wanted to say more, but I was exhausted. The adrenaline was wearing off, and I suddenly felt like I could barely keep my eyes open. I should go, I said. I've got a delivery to make. Drive safe, and Vince, don't look back. I didn't understand what he meant until I was about a quarter mile down the road. I glanced in my side mirror. There was a faint glow on the horizon behind me, like the line was forming again. I didn't stop, didn't slow down, just kept driving until I reached Eagle Pass, made my delivery, filed my paperwork, drove back to San Antonio, and for 3 weeks, I didn't tell anyone what happened. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every night for 3 weeks, I'd lie in bed replaying what I'd seen. The white line, the arch, the cold, those hypnotic lights pulsing in sequence, and that pull, that feeling when I'd been staring at the arch, like something was calling me, inviting me to come closer. I kept Hank's card on my nightstand. Must have picked it up 100 times, thinking about calling him. But what would I say? Hey, remember that impossible thing we saw? Let's talk about it. What good would that do? But on June 9th, 3 weeks after the incident, something happened that made me call him anyway. I was doing a different run, San Antonio to Laredo, taking Route 83 this time instead of 277. Different road, different destination, but same general area, same empty border country. It was around 10 p.m. when I passed through Cotula. Stopped for fuel. Grabbed a burrito from the gas station. Everything normal. I was about 40 minutes south of Cotula when I noticed the CB radio acting weird. Static. But not normal static, it had a pattern to it. 3 short bursts, 1 long, 3 short, 1 long, just like the pulsing lights on the arch. I turned up the volume. The pattern continued. Perfect rhythm. Mechanical precision. Hello? I said into the mic. Anybody transmitting on channel 19, over? The static pattern stopped. For about 5 seconds there was normal static. Then the pattern resumed. 3 short, 1 long. 3 short, 1 long. I changed channels. Channel 17, same pattern. Channel 21, same pattern. Every single channel had the same rhythmic static. My heart was pounding now. This wasn't coincidence. This was connected to what I'd seen on 277. I grabbed my phone to call Hank, pulled up his contact, hit dial, dead air. The call wouldn't go through, not no signal. The phone showed full bars. It just wouldn't connect. I tried again. Same result. Okay, I said aloud. Okay, this is happening again. I started looking for a place to pull over, somewhere safe, somewhere visible from the road in case I needed help. That's when I saw the glow, off to the right, maybe a mile away across the scrubland. A faint white glow rising from the ground like a pillar of light. The same white as the line. The same quality. Pure, concentrated. I slowed down. The glow was getting brighter. Taller. And as I watched, it began to bend, leaning toward the highway, toward me, like it was reaching for something. I pulled over, shut off the engine deliberately this time. If it was going to die anyway, I might as well do it on my terms. Grabbed a flashlight from the sleeper cab, got out of the truck. The night was warm. Normal temperature. But I could already feel that familiar heaviness in the air. That sense of something present. The pillar of light was about a quarter mile away now. Still bending, still reaching. And at its tip, I could see the beginning of a horizontal line forming. It was creating another arch, but this time I was watching it form from the start. The line extended slowly, 10 feet, 20, 40, growing longer, stretching toward the highway. I stood there with my flashlight watching this impossible thing create itself in the middle of the Texas scrubland. Then I heard an engine. I turned, headlights approaching from the south, a vehicle coming up fast. As it got closer, I could see it was a pickup truck. It slowed down when it saw my rig on the shoulder. The truck pulled up behind me. Door opened. A familiar figure stepped out. Vince, it was Hank. Hank, what are you doing here? I lived near here, saw the light from my ranch. Same as last time. He walked up next to me, looking at the forming arch. This is the third time I've seen it start to form. You? Second. First was the one you witnessed with me. Did you feel it this time? The pull? Not yet. I haven't gotten close. The line had reached the highway now. The end touched down on the opposite side of the road. The pillar began to curve, forming the familiar arch shape. Within a minute, it was complete. A perfect arch spanning Route 83. Same size as before, same white light. It's bigger this time, Hank said. He was right. This arch was wider, maybe 120 feet, and the light was brighter. My CB was doing something weird before this happened, I told him. Static pattern. 3 short, 1 long. Same rhythm as the lights from last time. Did your engine die? No, I pulled over deliberately. Smart. Mine died about half a mile back. Had to walk here. The arch began to pulse. Slowly at first, then faster. And just like before, points of light appeared along its curve. Dozens of them, arranging themselves in perfect spacing. Here we go, Hank said quietly. The lights began their sequence, flowing left to right, right to left. Beautiful and hypnotic. I felt the pull immediately, stronger than the last time, like a rope tied around my chest, tugging me forward. Don't look at it directly, Hank said. Focus on something else. I tore my eyes away and looked at my boots. The frost was starting to form again, spreading out from the arch in crystalline patterns. The temperature was dropping, fast. Same as before, I said through chattering teeth. Cold, frost, pattern. Yeah, but this time there's something different. What? Listen. I listened. Beyond the low bass sound, which apparently only I could hear, there was something else, a higher pitch, almost like singing, multiple tones overlapping. "You hear that?" Hank asked. "The singing?" "Yeah." So he could hear it this time. Last time he'd heard nothing. This time we both heard the singing. "It's getting louder," I said. It was. The tones were increasing in volume and complexity, harmonizing in ways that shouldn't be possible. Some of the notes were so high they were almost painful. Others so low I felt them in my bones. And then I realized something. "Hank, count the tones. How many distinct notes do you hear?" He listened for a moment. "I don't know, 5, 6? I'm counting 9. 9 distinct tones, all harmonizing." "What does that mean?" "I don't know. But 9 is specific, not random. It means something." The singing reached a crescendo. All 9 tones simultaneously hitting their peak volume. The arch blazed brighter. The frost spread faster. And then, as suddenly as it started, the singing stopped. Complete silence. Even the bass tone I'd been hearing was gone. The arch held steady. No pulsing, no flowing lights, just a static curve of white light spanning the highway. "What's happening?" I whispered. "I don't know. This didn't happen last time." We waited, watching. The only sound was our breathing and the faint crunch of frost forming on the asphalt. Then something appeared at the center of the arch. At the apex, a darker spot, like a shadow or a hole. "You seeing that?" Hank asked. "Yeah." The dark spot grew, spreading outward from the center. But it wasn't darkness. It was depth. Like we were looking through a doorway into somewhere else. And through that doorway I could see something. Not landscape, not sky. Something else entirely. It looked like light, but not light in the normal sense. Light that moved, flowed, curved back on itself. Light that existed in more dimensions than 3. "Jesus," Hank breathed. "What is that?" "I think," I said slowly, "it's what's on the other side." Other side of what? Reality. The doorway kept expanding. Now it was 10 feet across, 15, 20, growing larger by the second. And I could see shapes moving in that impossible light. Figures, not human, not solid, more like patterns, geometries that shifted and changed as they moved. "They're coming through," Hank said. "Should we run?" "I don't think running will help." He was probably right. Whatever this was, it had found us twice. Running seemed pointless. One of the patterns approached the doorway. As it got closer, it began to change, simplifying, taking on a more comprehensible form. By the time it reached the edge of the doorway, it looked almost solid, almost physical. It was roughly humanoid, 7 feet tall, thin, made of that same white light, but more contained, more defined. And it stepped through. The figure stood at the center of the arch, on our side of the doorway, in our reality. It looked at us. Though it had no visible eyes, I could feel its gaze, feel it observing, analyzing. Then it raised one arm. Slowly, deliberately. The limb was too long, too fluid, but the gesture was clear. It was beckoning us forward. "No way," I said. "Absolutely not." "Agreed." But even as I said it, I felt the pull, stronger than before, overwhelming. My feet started moving on their own, 1 step, 2, walking toward the arch, toward the figure, toward the doorway. "Vince, stop!" Hank grabbed my arm, but he was moving too. Both of us walking forward despite our conscious desire to stay back. The pull was irresistible, like gravity, like magnetism. drawing us in. 10 feet from the arch, 5 feet, 3 feet. The figure was waiting, still beckoning, and I could see through the doorway now, could see that impossible light up close, could see the patterns moving within it, and somewhere in my mind I understood. This was an invitation, an opportunity. They were showing us what existed beyond the thin boundary of our reality, offering us a glimpse, or maybe offering us a choice. Come through or stay, see or remain blind. Understand or stay in ignorance. 2 feet from the arch, 1 foot. My hand reached out, almost touching the light. And then a voice, not in my ears, in my mind. Not yet. My hand froze, inches from the light. You are not ready, but you will be soon. The pull released. Suddenly, completely. I stumbled backward, so did Hank. We both fell onto the frost-covered highway, gasping for breath. The figure stood motionless for another moment. Then it turned and walked back through the doorway. Back into that impossible light. Back to wherever it had come from. The doorway began to shrink. 20 feet across. 15. 10. 5. It collapsed to a point and vanished. The arch remained for a few seconds longer. Then, just like before, it rose into the sky and disappeared. The temperature returned to normal, the frost melted. Within a minute, everything looked ordinary again. Except for Hank and me, sitting on the highway trying to process what we'd just seen. Did that, Hank started. Did that thing just talk to us? You heard it too? Yeah, in my head. Not yet. You're not ready. What does that mean? I think, Hank said slowly, it means this is going to happen again. And next time we might not be able to resist. We didn't report it. What would we say? That we'd seen a doorway to another dimension open up on Route 83. That a being made of light had stepped through and spoken telepathically to us. They'd think we were insane, or lying, or high. So we kept quiet again. But Hank and I stayed in touch. Called each other every few days, comparing notes, trying to figure out what we'd seen, what it meant. I've been researching, Hank told me during one call, looking into historical sightings in this area. You'd be surprised how many there are. How many? Dozens. Going back over 100 years. Different forms, but always the same general location. Between Carrizo Springs and Eagle Pass. Always near Highway 83 or Route 277. Always involving strange lights and impossible geometry. You think it's always been the same thing? I think there's something about this location. Something that makes the boundary thin. Makes it easier for them, whatever they are, to reach through. But why here? Why the Texas-Mexico border? I don't know. But I'm not the only one asking. There's a network. People who've seen things, truckers, border agents, ranchers. We're all connected through back channels, sharing information quietly. How many people are in this network? Maybe 30 that I know of. Probably more who are staying silent. That shocked me. 30 people who'd witnessed something similar. 30 people keeping quiet because they knew no one would believe them. Hank, I said, what if it happens again? What if next time the pull is even stronger? Then we might not have a choice. His voice was grim. Vince, I've been thinking about what it said. Not yet. You're not ready. Ready for what? To go through, I guess. Maybe. Or ready to understand what we'd see if we went through. Ready to process it without losing our minds. That was a disturbing thought. What if the doorway led somewhere human consciousness couldn't handle? What if going through meant coming back changed? Or not coming back at all? We need to be prepared, I said. Next time it happens, we need to document it. Video, photos, something concrete. I've tried. Both times after you, I brought cameras. They don't work near the arch. Electronics die. Even phones? Especially phones. They shut down completely. Won't restart until the phenomenon is gone. So, documentation was out. We'd have nothing but our own testimony, our own memories, which meant no one would ever believe us. The third encounter happened on July 4th, Independence Day. I wasn't even working. Was visiting family in Del Rio for the holiday. Planning to watch fireworks. Have some barbecue. Normal stuff. But around 9 p.m. my phone rang. Hank. "It's happening again," he said without preamble. "Right now, Route 277, mile marker 58. I'm in Del Rio, that's 40 miles away. Can you get here? I think this one's different, bigger, I need backup." Something in his voice made me agree immediately. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. I made an excuse to my family. Said I had truck trouble. Had to go check on my rig. Jumped in my personal vehicle and drove. Made it to mile marker 58 in 28 minutes. The arch was already formed when I arrived. But Hank was right. This one was different. It was massive. Had to be 300 feet across. Spanning not just the highway but extending deep into the scrubland on both sides. And it wasn't just one arch, it was 3 arches. Nested inside each other like Russian dolls. The outer arch was the largest. The middle arch was maybe half that size. The inner arch was smallest, maybe 60 feet across. And all 3 were pulsing, but not in sync. Each had its own rhythm, creating a complex pattern of light. Hank was standing by his truck on the shoulder. When he saw me pull up, he waved me over. "What is this?" I asked, getting out of my car. "I don't know. It started forming about 15 minutes ago. Took 10 minutes to reach full size, been stable since then. 3 arches, why 3? No idea, but watch." He pointed. As I watched, the inner arch began to glow brighter. The middle arch dimmed, then the outer arch brightened while the inner dimmed. They were cycling, taking turns being the brightest. "It's like they're communicating," I said. "That's what I thought. But communicating what? And to who?" The temperature was dropping again, but slower this time, more gradual. Like whatever was creating this effect had learned to control it better. And there was no frost. The ground stayed dry, the air stayed clear. "They're adapting," Hank said. "Learning. Each time this happens, it's more controlled, more refined. That's not comforting. No, it's not." The cycling continued. Inner, middle, outer, over and over. And with each cycle I noticed something. The bass tone was back, but this time it was changing pitch, 3 tones, 1 for each arch. "You hear that?" I asked Hank. "The humming, yeah. It's 3 notes, 1 for each arch. They're harmonizing." We listened, the notes wove together, creating chords. Complex musical patterns that shouldn't be possible with just 3 notes. And then the doorway appeared. But not in 1 arch. In all 3. 3 doorways. Nested together. Each showing a different view of that impossible light beyond. Through the outer doorway I could see vast sweeping curves. Massive structures made of light. Through the middle doorway, smaller patterns. More detailed. Like zooming in on something intricate. Through the inner doorway, individual shapes, figures, moving with purpose. "It's showing us different scales," I said. "Different levels of whatever's on the other side. Or different places entirely." 3 figures emerged, 1 from each doorway, each different. The figure from the outer doorway was huge, maybe 15 feet tall, made of that white light but shot through with other colors. Blues, golds, moving like aurora borealis. The figure from the middle doorway was smaller, human-sized, more defined, almost solid. The figure from the inner doorway was the smallest, maybe 4 feet tall, childlike, but radiating the same quality of light. All three stood at the centers of their respective arches. All three looked at us, and all three beckoned. The pull hit me like a physical force. So strong, I gasped. My feet were moving before I could think about it. Hank was moving too, both of us walking forward. Not toward just one arch, toward all three. "Which one?" Hank gasped. "Which one do we go to?" "I don't know." The pull was splitting. Part of me was drawn to the largest figure, part to the medium figure, part to the small figure. Like they were each offering something different, like we were being given a choice. 10 feet from the arches, 5 feet. The figures waited, patient, beckoning. And then again that voice. But this time it was 3 voices, overlapping, speaking in unison. Choose or return, but no, the choice approaches. Soon you will not be able to refuse. The pull released, all at once. Hank and I stumbled backward, fell, lay on the highway breathing hard. When we looked up, the figures were gone. The doorways were closing. The 3 arches were shrinking, pulling back from the ground, rising into the sky. They ascended together, maintaining their nested formation, getting smaller as they rose, and then they blinked out. All 3 at once, gone. "Choose," Hank said. He was shaking. "They want us to choose something. But what? What are they offering?" I think they're offering to show us different perspectives, different understandings, the big picture, the medium view, or the intimate detail, or different roles, observer, participant, guide. Maybe all of the above. We sat there until the sun came up, talking, theorizing, trying to make sense of it. By dawn, we'd reached a conclusion. These encounters were building to something, each one stronger than the last, each one pushing us closer to having to make a decision. And we both knew the next time might be the last time. The time when saying no wasn't an option. The 4th and final encounter happened 3 weeks later. July 25th. I was doing a late-night run from San Antonio to Eagle Pass, same route where it all started. Route 277. But this time, I knew it was coming. Could feel it in the air. That heaviness. That sense of presence. At 11:43 p.m. near mile marker 62, the exact spot where I'd seen the first arch, my CB radio crackled to life. "Vince," it was Hank's voice. "You on 277? Yeah. Near marker 62. Turn around, now. It's starting. And this time, it's everywhere." "What do you mean, everywhere?" "I mean, there are arches forming all along the highway. At least a dozen. All synchronized. All pulsing together." My blood ran cold. "Where are you?" "Near marker 58. Vince, I think this is it. The choice. They're not going to let us refuse this time." I pulled over, turned the truck around, started driving back toward Carrizo Springs. I saw the first arch at marker 60, then another at 59, another at 58, all identical, all pulsing in perfect sync. And then I saw what Hank meant. They weren't separate arches. They were connected, linked by thin lines of light running along the ground, creating a path, a glowing path stretching along the highway, leading somewhere. I found Hank at marker 58. He was standing outside his truck, staring at the arches. "It's a road," he said when I walked up. "They've built a road out of light. Where does it lead?" "South, toward the border. I followed it as far as marker 55. There's at least a dozen more arches beyond that." "Do we follow it?" Hank looked at me. I don't think we have a choice." He was right. The pull was there. But it wasn't violent this time. Wasn't forcing. It was gentle, insistent, like a hand on your shoulder, guiding you forward. We got in Hank's truck, mine was too big to maneuver easily, and started driving slowly south along the glowing path. Each arch we passed pulsed brighter as we approached, then dimmed as we moved on, like they were acknowledging our passage. At marker 55, we saw where the path led. There was a massive arch, bigger than any we'd seen before, at least 500 feet across. And it wasn't horizontal, it was vertical, standing upright like a doorway. Through it, we could see that impossible light, that other place. And standing in front of it were figures, dozens of them, all sizes, all waiting. We stopped the truck, got out, walked forward together. The figures parted, creating a clear path to the arch, to the doorway. "This is it," Hank said. "This is the choice. Go through or stay back." Yeah. We stood there. Two humans facing an impossible decision. And then one of the figures approached. The same one that had spoken to us before. The human-sized one. It didn't beckon this time. Instead, it placed one hand against the arch. The light rippled around its touch. And I understood. This wasn't about us going through. Not yet. This was about them coming here. The figure pushed. The arch rippled more. The doorway widened. And more figures began to emerge. Not just light anymore, more solid, more present. They were crossing over, coming to our side. "The boundary thins," the voice said in our minds. "Soon it will not exist. We will walk among you, you will walk among us. The choice will no longer be necessary. All will see, all will know." When? Hank asked aloud. "Soon. Years, not decades. Your species approaches the threshold. We prepare you, so that when the boundary fails, you will not fear. You will understand." More figures emerged. 12, 24, spreading out across the scrubland, observing, learning, beginning their integration. "What do we do until then?" I asked. "Live, learn, prepare others when you can. Tell your stories. Some will believe, many will not. But seeds will be planted. Understanding will grow." The figure stepped back into the arch. The doorway began to shrink. "We will return, again and again. The encounters will increase. More will see, more will know. And when the boundary fails completely, humanity will be ready." The arch collapsed. The glowing path dimmed. The figures that had crossed over faded, becoming less visible but not gone. Still present, just harder to see. And Hank and I were left standing on Route 277 in the darkness, knowing we'd just witnessed something that would change everything. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. That was 2 years ago. Since then, the encounters have increased, not just for me and Hank, for others too. Truckers, border agents, civilians, all along the border region, all seeing the arches, the lights, the figures. The network Hank mentioned? It's grown. Over 100 people now, sharing stories, documenting encounters, preparing. Because we all know the boundary is thinning. Each encounter makes it weaker, easier to cross. And someday, maybe in 5 years, maybe in 20, it will fail completely. The line above the scrubland isn't a warning. It's a bridge, one that's slowly becoming permanent. They're coming through. Not to invade, not to conquer, to coexist, to show us what lies beyond the thin boundary we call reality, to prepare us for the day when seeing is no longer special, when everyone can see, when the impossible becomes normal. I still drive Route 277, still make my deliveries, still watch for the arches, and every time I see one form, I know we're one step closer. The choice they offered wasn't whether to go through the doorway, it was whether to be ready when they come through to us. I've made my choice. I'll be ready, will you? I need to tell you what happened 3 months ago, because if I don't write this down now, I might not get another chance. The network Hank and I built, it's falling apart, not because people stop believing, because they're disappearing. It started small. A trucker named Ramon Gutierrez went missing in October. His rig was found on Route 277, engine running, lights on, doors locked from the inside. But Ramon, gone. No trace, no signs of struggle. Just an empty truck with the CB still transmitting static in that familiar pattern. 3 short, 1 long. Then a Border Patrol agent named Linda Vasquez. She'd reported multiple encounters over the past year. Detailed logs, photographs that showed nothing but blurred light. She was documenting everything, building a case to present to her superiors. Her patrol vehicle was found at mile marker 47 on Highway 83. Same situation. Engine running. Everything intact. Linda gone. Within 2 months, 7 more people from the network vanished. All of them experienced witnesses. All of them last seen near the zones where the arches appear. Hank and I knew what was happening. The figures weren't just crossing over anymore. They were inviting people across, and some people were accepting. We need to stop investigating, Hank told me during our last phone call. It's getting too dangerous. Whatever's happening, it's accelerating. But I couldn't stop. Because 3 nights ago, something happened that changed everything. I was on a run from San Antonio to Laredo, taking Highway 83 because 277 had been closed for maintenance, though I suspected the real reason was the increasing number of incidents. The state was trying to reduce traffic through the zones. It was 2 a.m., clear night, empty road. I'd made this run 100 times since that first encounter. My CB crackled, the pattern, 3 short, 1 long, but then a voice broke through. Not static, an actual voice. Vince Del Bosque, pull over at mile marker 51. I nearly drove off the road, that voice. It was human, but also not, like hearing someone speak underwater. Distorted, but comprehensible. Who is this? I asked into the CB. Pull over, please. We need to show you something. Every instinct screamed at me to keep driving, to ignore it. But curiosity, that same curiosity that had gotten me into this, made me slow down. Mile marker 51. I pulled onto the shoulder, killed the engine, sat there in the dark with my hand on the ignition, ready to start up and run if I needed to. The arch appeared immediately. No gradual formation this time, just instant, like it had been waiting for me. But this arch was different, smaller, more controlled, and through it I could see something I'd never seen before. A room, an actual physical space, with walls and a floor and what looked like furniture. And standing in that room, visible through the doorway, was Ramon Gutierrez. I jumped out of my truck. Ramon, is that you? He looked at me, smiled, but his eyes were different, changed. They reflected light in a way human eyes shouldn't. Vince, he said. His voice came from the arch, not from my CB. I'm okay. Better than okay. I need you to understand. We're all okay. Where are you? What happened to you? I crossed over. When they offered, I accepted. And Vince, you can't imagine what it's like here. The things I've seen. The things I understand now. Behind him, I could see movement. Other figures. and some of them looked human, or had been human. "Linda's here too," Ramon continued. "And Marcus, you remember Marcus Rivera? He's been here longer than any of us. He's learning to navigate between the layers. Vince, they're not kidnapping us, they're teaching us, evolving us. But your family misses me, I know. And maybe someday I can come back and explain, but right now, I'm learning things humans aren't supposed to know yet. Things about reality, about consciousness, about what we really are beneath the biology." Another figure approached behind Ramon. This one was definitely human once. A woman, middle-aged. She looked at me with those same changed eyes. "Mr. Del Bosque?" she said. "My name was Patricia Holt. I was an Air Force pilot. I've been on the other side for 7 years. 7 years, that matched one of the disappearances Hank had researched. What do they want from us? I asked. Nothing, Patricia said. They want to give us something. The ability to see reality as it actually is, to exist in more than 3 dimensions, to understand that the boundary between worlds isn't a wall, it's a membrane, and we can learn to move through it. Why now? Why is this happening now? Ramon answered. Because humanity is ready. Not all of you, not most of you, but enough. Enough people have seen, enough have questioned, enough are willing to accept that reality is stranger than you've been taught. A third figure appeared, one of the light beings, the human-sized one that had spoken to us before. Vincent Del Bosque, it said directly into my mind. You have witnessed 4 manifestations. You have resisted the pull 4 times. This demonstrates strength. Wisdom. We respect this. What happens now? I asked. Now, you choose. But this choice is final. Cross over and learn what these humans have learned. Become more than you are. Or remain and help prepare those who are not yet ready. Both paths have value. Both serve the greater purpose. And if I stay, you will continue to witness. The encounters will intensify. More arches, more frequent. More people will see. And you will be one of the few who understands what is happening, who can explain, who can calm the fear. You're saying this is going to go public. The arches will appear where everyone can see them. Within 18 months. The boundary will thin enough that manifestations become visible to anyone in the zones. Your world's governments will panic. Your media will spread fear. You will be needed to counter that fear with truth. I looked at Ramon, at Patricia, at the beings of light standing behind them. If I cross over, can I come back? Ramon shook his head. Not the same way. You'd be changed. Your body would still be here, but you'd be different. Operating on a different level. People would know something happened to you. Show me, I said suddenly. Show me what it's like, just for a moment. Let me see what you see. The light being tilted its head, considering. This is not usually permitted, but you have earned it. 3 seconds, no more, or the change will begin and cannot be reversed. Do it. The arch flared bright, and for 3 seconds I saw. I can't describe it. Human language doesn't have words for what I experienced. It was like, imagine you've been living your entire life in a single room, convinced that the room was the whole universe. And then suddenly the walls disappear, and you realize the room was just one cell in an infinite building. And the building is just one building in an infinite city. And the city is just one city in an infinite cosmos of cities. That's the closest I can come to explaining it. And I understood what Ramon and Patricia and Marcus and all the others had seen, why they'd chosen to stay. Because once you see that, how do you go back to thinking the room is all there is? The 3 seconds ended. The vision collapsed. I was back on Highway 83, standing in front of my truck, staring at the arch. Tears were streaming down my face. I don't remember starting to cry. "I can't," I said. "I can't cross over. Not yet. Not because I'm afraid. Because there are people who need to hear this, who need to know that what's coming isn't an invasion. It's an invitation." The light being nodded. "We understand. You choose service. This is noble. Will I see you again?" "Many times. As the boundary fails, we will appear more frequently. To you, to others. The 18 months will be difficult. People will fear. You must counteract that fear with knowledge." "How? How do I make people understand?" "Tell your story. Share what you have seen. Many will dismiss you. Some will mock. But others will listen. And those who listen will prepare. And when the arches appear in daylight, in cities where thousands can see, those who listened will not panic. They will understand." The arch began to fade. Ramon gave me a final wave. Patricia smiled. The light being placed its hand over where its heart would be, a gesture of respect. And then they were gone. The arch collapsed. The highway was dark and empty again. I stood there for a long time, maybe an hour, watching the sky, thinking about what I'd seen, about the choice I'd made. Finally, I got back in my truck, started the engine, continued my delivery. But I knew everything had changed. So that's why I'm writing this. Why I'm posting this story online. Why I'm breaking my silence. Because in 18 months, maybe less, you're going to see them. The arches will appear, not hidden on empty highways at midnight, in broad daylight, in populated areas where cameras can capture them, where crowds can witness them. And when that happens, you need to know, don't be afraid. They're not here to harm us. They're here to show us that reality is bigger than we thought, that consciousness is stranger than we imagined, that the boundary between worlds is permeable. Some of you will be drawn to cross over, to see what Ramon and Patricia and the others have seen. That's your choice, and it's valid. Others will choose to stay, to remain human, to live out your lives in the familiar 3 dimensions. That's equally valid, but everyone needs to understand. This is happening. The arches are real, the boundary is thinning. And within our lifetimes, the separation between our reality and theirs will cease to exist. We're not being invaded, we're being integrated. The line above the scrubland was just the beginning, a test, a gradual introduction, preparing us for the day when seeing isn't rare, when the impossible becomes commonplace, when we have to expand our definition of real to include things we never imagined. Hank knows I'm writing this. He's doing the same. Others in the network are coming forward too. We're coordinating, building a support system for when the panic hits, because it will hit. When the arches appear over Los Angeles, over New York, over Tokyo and London and Mumbai, when millions of people simultaneously see proof that we're not alone. That reality isn't what we thought. There will be chaos, fear. Governments will scramble. Religions will struggle to explain. Science will race to understand. But those of us who've witnessed it, who've seen the arches form and the figures emerge and heard the voices in our minds, will be there to say, this is real, this is happening. And it's okay. Don't be afraid of the line above the scrubland. Don't run from the arches, don't fear the figures of light. They've been here all along, watching, waiting, preparing us. And now, finally, we're ready to meet them, not as victims, not as subjects, as peers, as fellow conscious beings navigating the strange infinite cosmos together. The boundary is failing, the integration is coming, and humanity's understanding of reality is about to expand in ways we can't yet imagine. I've made my choice. I'm staying here, telling this story, preparing people. But if you see an arch form, if you feel the pull, if you hear the voice in your mind offering you a choice, know that whatever you choose, you're part of something bigger than yourself. Part of a cosmic shift that's been building for centuries. The line above the scrubland was never just a light. It was a bridge, and we're about to cross it, one way or another.